Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. It's me, Jeff, here again, as I do. I have some terribly bad news. I have COVID. Sucks. Supposed to see Batman on Saturday. We're supposed to have a big Batman blowout show. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen now. Unfortunately, it's just going to have to wait. That's okay. That is okay. Nobody that I was with or who was around me caught COVID. My family remains safe and sound, and that is what is most important in life, is it not? As for my symptoms, I'm a little mild, relatively mild, achy, little achy. I don't know. I'm preparing myself for the worst and hoping for the best. And that's it. It is what it is. But the reason why I bring this up at the beginning of the show is because I'm doing a lot of coughing and it's really crazy. Thank you, Robbie. Robbie says, hope it passes soon, my friend. I hope so too. But I've been coughing like crazy and it is kind of gross. And I hope that it doesn't happen. I'm going to do a lot of talking right now. I took about 600 ibuprofen, so hopefully that will help with things. And what I just realized? I did not, what I just realized? I totally forgot to get a seltzer. So you know what I'm going to do? We're going to start off the show with our sponsor. We never do this, but we're doing this so that way we don't lose the dead air. I can go get my seltzer and I can come back. Do you know about riotstickers.com? They are the proud sponsors of the Frumess channel. Sharpie Riot runs a wonderful independent business called riotstickers.com. They made the stupendous banner that you see. It's hard to point on screen because it's reversed. He made this banner that's right behind me. Beautiful, beautiful banner. You can get banners and so much more. We're doing a special deal on stickers. You can get 50 stickers, 53-inch by 3-inch stickers for $29.50. Normally, that's $59, but you get 50% off value with the special promo code Frumess. And the link is in the description below. That's how it goes, riotstickers.com. We're going to jump into this topic. I am so excited for tonight. We got a hell of a show packed for you. You don't even know what kind of show we got. It's going to be great. I will be right back.
We make stickers, banners, and buttons too, posters and promo cards. There's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads, we can print on shirts, we can print on hats, we can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality, quick turnaround times and free shipping. We also offer free artwork support, great customer service, and so much more. Riotstickers.com, Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com, Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com, Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com, Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
Riot Stickers, we are the bomb indeed. That is correct. Okay, I'm back. I got my seltzers. I got some delicious seltzer. We have a wonderful orange vanilla polar right here, and then I also have a Wegmans mango lime. Both stupendous flavors. Big fan, big old fan of those. Okay, let's do this. So, I have a few notes here. Let's begin with this. Anti-Semitism. We have grazed over it a little bit on this channel in the past. It's a weird sort of topic. For a big deep dive on that and like Jewish identity and America and a bunch of other stuff, go check out the Larry David episode we did. Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David episode that we did earlier this, oh no, maybe it was last year. It might have been in the fall or the winter. And that's where we really, really talked about anti-Semitism, or at least I talked about my personal relationship with anti-Semitism. What's up, Biz? Appreciate your words. I'm hoping for a strong recovery too. But the thing is, there are certain things that are tied to anti-Semitism. There's a lot of stuff. Today, it's a lot of conspiracy theories, like the myths. Like it used to be myths. And in fact, you might even say that in a way, myth is the original conspiracy theory, right? So it's like, you know, both are not necessarily rooted in truth, or maybe based on like the tiniest thread of observational truth. What does observational truth means? It means that like something that, you know, you observe that is, you know, factually true from your observation, but then you take that thing and you pull it like taffy, and you stretch it and pull it and churn it until it is something that doesn't really resemble itself. It's something that is completely different. And there is, I mean, that there is a flavor of, and you know, and then somewhere in between that spectrum, we said myths, we said conspiracy theories, and then you have stuff like stereotypes. And stereotypes exist for everybody. There is a stereotype for everyone. Some stereotypes are more benign than other stereotypes. There's some stereotypes that are incredibly hurtful. Some will argue that stereotype is also based on punching up and punching down, whatever that means. It means like this idea that like a stereotype, like for instance, the idea that a stereotype might not hurt a Caucasian person in the same way that a stereotype might hurt an African-American person, or, you know, just any black person who is, you know, comes from maybe a marginalized background or population or whatever, that kind of thing. And you know, there is definitely something to that as well. But, you know, the thing with this stuff is it's all super duper subjective. You know what I'm saying? It's super duper subjective. It's not this and it's not that. It's not a black and white thing. It's just, there's a lot of gray area. Thank you, Count Zacula. We got Count Zacula in the crib, in the house, in the coffin. It's a vampire themed show. You're just in time, Zach. Hope you are well as well. And then, you know, there are like specifics, like, you know, for instance, like I'll speak specifically about Jews. I myself am being a Jew. Let's get that up front. If you watch my channel enough, you know that I'm a Jew because I talk about it every single day, or I always mention it. I do that kind of on purpose because there was a long period of time where I was really ashamed to be Jewish. I was ashamed of my heritage because I had been made fun of for being Jewish. And, you know, when I wasn't so fat and I had my nose looked bigger, and I had, you know, those Jewish features, you know, and I'll never forget working as a busboy in a restaurant, and I was with these Slavic guys, and oh my God, it scared the crap out of me. One of them found out I was Jewish, and the other one turns to his brother, that they were brothers, all excited. He goes, "Hey, he's a Jew. He's a Jew." And, you know, even just saying a Jew, like a Jew is a noun. That is what I am. I am a Jew. It's not like bad to use the word Jew, right? Like a Jew is a Jew. Like that's what you call it. You call a black guy a black guy. You wouldn't call an English black man an African-American. That sounds stupid, right? That's a stupid thing. That's offensive, right? So you just call, but it's interesting how sometimes the thing itself becomes the pejorative. So in the case of being gay, remember when it was very in vogue decades ago to say, "Oh, that's so gay. That's gay." And what you're doing is you're saying, "Well, oh no, I don't mean I don't mean the sexuality. I'm just talking about something in a negative way." But what you're doing is you're turning the word gay into a pejorative, and therefore it equates. And we've since changed, right? In like the last 20 years, it's become really like, it's not a thing you hear very often anymore. It is no longer socially acceptable. At one point in time, it was a very socially acceptable thing. And the same thing with the F word. The F word was a very socially accepted sort of slang term to use. It was said with ignorance and malice, but it was a very hurtful word. The F word is a word that I guess that's the equivalent of saying the N word, right? to an extent. And then you have the word Jew, where, you know, you call someone a Jew, you're essentially calling them cheap. You could be calling them cheap. There's a bunch of things you could be calling them when you call them a Jew. Like it is bad to be a Jew, in the same way that it's bad to be a rat. Don't you call someone a rat because you're trying to insult them. If you call someone a Jew who's not a Jew, you're probably doing it because you're trying to insult them, right? You're not calling someone a Jew. The one time you're calling someone a Jew who's not a Jew is if they have like really, really Jewish features, and maybe like, I don't know, like they have really, really curly hair, or maybe they have a really, really big nose or something. And you say, boy, you, you know, like, boy, you look like a Jewy bastard, something like that. And so like, it's just like a weird thing. And like in that instance, I feel like using the word in that way is not like necessarily a negative. You're just, it's more of like a observational thing. But let me get back on track here with the thread that I'm trying to pull at. In addition to using nouns as pejoratives, in addition to the stereotypes and the conspiracy theories and the myths, you also have like these sort of, you have these other stereotypes, visual stereotypes that are supposed to be the personification of an entirety of a people. Now, what do I mean by that? You have stuff like the Redskins mascot, and I know Redskin is not a nice thing to say. I'm saying it for the fact that we're calling it, that's what it was. It was a big brouhaha. Native Americans, indigenous peoples were incredibly offended and upset by the racial insensitivity to, you know, people walking around with a t-shirt of this stereotypical looking, you know, Native American chief that's being identified by the color of its skin. Could you imagine if that was a black person, or if that was an Asian person of some kind? It would be, now switch out the I mean, that's pretty bad. But for some reason, because it's the Redskins or whatever, or because it's Native American people, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's very subjective. People don't always view everything in the same sort of way. So what I'm about to say is going to sound really kind of weird, but if you look at it, if you line it up a little bit, it kind of works. And then we're going to get to what my personal feelings are about it. If you look at Aunt Jemima is considered to be an incredibly well, it has super racist roots and origins as well. I don't even want to say the word that it originates from, but you know, it's turned into this commodified commercial brand for a corporation, and it's become so homogenized and so like bland in its like that. It's not a hateful, harmful thing. Nobody really bats an eye at it, and yet at the same time, people look at it and you know, realize, hey, this is connected to this. And to an extent, what we're going to explore today is how Nosferatu is essentially a racialized stereotype for Jews. And that is true. That's the origin of Nosferatu, the Nosferatu character. But it's way, way, way more complicated than that. And we're gonna deep dive into it. I just want to look over my notes. Information and ugly stereotypes. And then here's the other thing that's interesting too. Stereotypes are going to get like information, myths, like all the stuff we're discussing. This stuff is going to get super weird, at least for Jews. Let me keep it to Jews. For Jews, it's going to get really weird in the next couple decades, because we still have survivors of our genocide, of our Holocaust. They're all dying out. And when they die out, you are going to see the rise of a whole new wave of denial. That's why people are like, why, who cares? Like, why is this such a big deal that they're banning this graphic novel called Maus? And Maus, for those of you who don't know, Maus is, it's by Art Spiegelman, and it's basically this parable for the Holocaust, but using cats as the Nazis and mice as the Jews. And, you know, that obviously speaks to, and if you think about the fact that they're mice and not necessarily rats, because rats, again, they have that negative connotation. It's like they're mice. They're mice. They're not rats. Rats, people like mice more than they like rats, right? But you call a mouse a rat to make it seem more unappetizing, you know? And basically what Nosferatu is, he is essentially somewhat the personification of a Jewish rat. Yeah, a Jewish rat that feeds on the blood of the living, a foreign invader that comes from, you know, mysterious lands to infect everything around it. We must vanquish the Nosferatu, that sort of thing. And we're here today. And then the last thing I want to say before we like look at the history of this stuff, which, you know, I know some stuff, but like I'm very curious to learn myself. The last thing that I want to say is like, how do I personally feel about Nosferatu personally? I like Nosferatu, actually. I kind of equate it to how the trans community, maybe, I can't speak for the trans community, but we do have trans viewers on this channel. I would love to hear, and we kind of talked about it in the comments a little bit, but I'd love to invite them to weigh in on it in the comments in regards to sleepaway camp, as we've kind of done in the past. It's like a conflicting, confusing thing. Like on one hand, like I know that it's like sort of a polarizing, confusing, sort of like positive and negative. It's, you know, it's very hurtful and damaging, but there's also kind of like some sort of like empowerment angle to the relationship with sleepaway camp, for the lack of better words. And if there are better words to be using, let me know, please. And it's the same thing, I think, with, say, Nosferatu. I like Nosferatu. I like Nosferatu the movie. Actually, I just watched Werner Herzog's Nosferatu as well as Nosferatu in Venice. And I reviewed both of those movies on this channel. Go check it out. Herzog really, really gets into the rat plague stuff in relation, in regards to Nosferatu, which is really cool, really interesting. I really liked his adaptation. Klaus Kinski is amazing. Not to say that Max Schreck is not amazing. But yeah, it's like a weird thing. Like on one hand, it's like the same idea. Like for me, it's like the ultimate persona. Again, I mean, keep using this word personification, stupid word. It's like the ultimate embracing of being the monster kid in a way, right? Being like a Jewish vampire, you know, creature, that sort of thing. So I think it's kind of cool on that angle, but it comes from very, very sad, tragic, damaging, insulting sort of history. Slash says here, this is a pretty serious thing to level against Murnau. Do you have any sources from him or people around him regarding his feelings? Well, we're going to find out in about 2 seconds, because I have a ton of materials here. And you know what's interesting too, you know, for those of like, you know, in terms of wonder, what is interesting is Max Schreck was a Jew. The writer, I believe the writer of Nosferatu was Jewish. And Murnau himself was gay. So that kind of like all gets thrown into the mix. So I'm not like, I think that Nosferatu is intending to be anti-Semitic per se? No. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that it comes from those kinds of places, in the same way that look at Candyman's origins, right? With the honey and the bees, and he was a slave, right? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that in a way. And it's really, really interesting. And it's really interesting, you know, especially in contextualizing what we've been dealing with for the last 2 years, you know, this notion, and like, you know, it just kind of makes it kind of a contemporary sort of thing, right? A little bit. The idea of conflating, you know, or, you know, comparing and contrasting, that with, say, the plague. But let's deep dive now, and take a look and sort of appraise all of this stuff. And I have everything sort of sequenced up here. Let's take a look at it. We'll go one thing by one thing. Let's see what Slash says real quick. Slash says, I feel Orlok's characterization is essentially from the Stoker novel, but the big departure is his grotesque appearance versus the dapper court. So this is a perfect Slasher. You said it yourself. And that grotesque appearance is supposed to be mimicking a Jewish creature that carries disease and feeds on the blood of the living. That's the whole point. That's what Nosferatu is, as opposed to, say, maybe Dracula. A little bit different, obviously. As we all know, for those of you who don't know, well, we're going to read about it, so I don't have to explain. I'm not going to even explain all of that. Biz says, I'm not into vamps, so I've never even heard this before. I just thought he looked that way because he's a movie monster, in the same way that witches have green skin and warts. I mean, we're gonna read right now and let other people better say it than me. How about that? So let's start here. This is interesting. This is from Reddit, and this partially gave me the inspiration for tonight's episode, because we've done a lot of history stuff on this channel. We've tackled a lot of things that revolve around death and monsters and stuff. I thought, being a Jew myself, why not talk about some of the negative Jewish stereotypes, or just like, and how they intersect with horror and horror elements and things. I thought that would be really sort of interesting. So let's take a look. Let us take a look. All right. Here we go. So this is from the horror Reddit, and it said Nosferatu is a Jewish caricature, and it's posted 2 years ago by Has Some Self-Esteem, and they write, that's not the start of a bad joke. That is just something I noticed while watching the film for the first time. So this person is coming to this realization without having read or heard anything. They were just watching the movie and sort of realized this. They say, I loved it, but I was struck by how much of the horror was rooted in early 20th century anti-Semitism and xenophobia. The plot of the film is that a demonic foreigner brings plague and evil to a German city while preying on pure young maidens. Count Orlok even looks like a horrid stereotype of a monster Jew. I'm not trying to start a debate or attempt to discredit the film, and you can't discredit the film. It's a masterpiece. You hear me right now say this. Nosferatu is a wonderful masterpiece. Does Israel have their own vampire variant myths? No, because that is a really, really complicated question, Biz. The short answer is no, because what happened was everybody who's living in Israel, essentially, apart from the Jews that live there indigenously, were coming from other places after the Great Diaspora. So, in fact, whatever myths that are coming into Israel actually come from the Germanic regions. They come from Russia. They come from Eastern European regions. So, if anything, something maybe more on along the lines of like a Strigoi might be coming from there into Israel. And it's the same thing with the Arab Jews. My wife is an Arab Jew. She's not white. She is Middle Eastern. She's Libyan and Iraqi. And so they probably have their own myth as well. In fact, guys, how about this? Did you know this? Did you know that the last name Frumess is actually Yiddish? Yiddish is the language of Eastern European Jews. So my name comes from a bastardized language that is a combination of German and Hebrew. And what it means, ironically enough, is very religious Jew, a frum or a from. And so that is where the name Frumess actually comes from. We got Goat Boy here, and he says the Golem unleashed. The Golem is another Jewish myth, actually super cool. And, you know, the origins of Frankenstein kind of tie into that as well. I mean, Frankenstein is a wholly original creation by Mary Shelley, but I would say a proto-Frankenstein, a predecessor to Frankenstein. The idea of creating something monstrous and it running rampant actually comes from Prague, 16th century Prague, with the idea of the golem. Right. Send in Der Golem. If you want to experience Der Golem in a wonderful way, you need to listen to Frank Black's 2010 album, Der Golem, where he basically scored and wrote a thematic album to the film Der Golem, which is actually, and again, my silent cinema, my German expressionist history is a little rusty here. But I do believe that Der Golem is actually the third movie. There was 3 Golem movies, and the first 2 were destroyed, or at least there's no surviving prints of them. And then Der Golem is actually kind of like the prequel to the other 2 films. So the third prequel in the Golem trilogy is the only one to survive, interestingly enough. And that is a character that I love, that I champion, maybe even more than, say, Nosferatu, because Nosferatu is like a negative. I mean, it's like, again, it would be like you imagine if you were not a Jew and you were just like super into Nosferatu and you're just like, yeah, or you're not, let's say that you're not, let's say that you're a white guy and you just walk around wearing an Aunt Jemima hat on your head and you're like, yeah, Aunt Jemima. And meanwhile, there might be a woman who maybe might be the basis or maybe would be offended, I should say, of the Aunt Jemima stereotype, who sees you wearing that hat. And you might go, like, that's a little, you know, neither here nor there. All right, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving on here. We're getting a little distracted. Let's see. There's that cough. The original Dracula, Thost344 says, the original Dracula in Stoker's novel is meant to be evocative of various Eastern immigrant stereotypes as well. So it's interesting how Bela Lugosi, I believe Bela was Hungarian, right? Bela Lugosi is a Hungarian, sort of Eastern European kind of guy who's embodying Dracula, who in turn is supposed to be this sort of, this Eastern immigrant that's transgressing, I don't know what you would call it. We got Ballad in the house. What's up, Ballad? Ballad will be perfect for this conversation. One of the more blatant anti-Semitic tropes in modern film is the bankers in Harry Potter. There's a Star of David on the effing floor in the bank. I never noticed that, for real. But Ballad is aware of this stuff. He see it, like, it's there. It is subversively, this stuff is there. Even if that was not the intention of the filmmakers, subversively, it is there. It exists. How harmful is it? I don't know. But like I said, do you really want to be a white guy walking around wearing an Aunt Jemima hat? Or do you really want to be, if you want to be a white, this happened for many years, white guys wearing redskin hats, try going, tell me you feel comfortable wearing a redskin hat on a reservation. You go to a Native American reservation and you are wearing a redskin ball cap. I'm sure that would be rather offensive and uncool. Biz says, damn, what is it with every monster threatening pure young maidens? Because every monster, and we'll stop to talk about this for 1 second because I love talking about this. Every monster like story always comes back to this idea of beauty and the beast. You know what I mean? You have usually the beast has its humanity locked inside of it. but on the outside doesn't reflect its outside doesn't reflect the humanity that's within. And therefore it's a tragic story of unrequited love. I am the beast. How could I ever love the beauty? We can never be together. Look no further than, say, you know, Beauty and the Beast, or look at every monster movie that, you know, came out, The Creature of the Black Lagoon, you know what I'm saying? All that sort of stuff, even King Kong, which, if you've watched, one of the best scenes ever written by Quentin Tarantino. Here's a great example of everything we're talking about right now. Every single thing we're talking about right now in relation to Nosferatu, everything that we're talking about in relation to just all this stuff. Oh, the Snooch brings up a good one. Hold on. I'm going to get to the comments 1 second. Look at Beauty and the Beast. Watch the most brilliant scene from Quentin Tarantino in Inglourious Bastards, where they're playing this guessing game. You have to guess what the subject is on the card that's on someone's forehead. And they're going through the guessing game, and what does, and spoilers on a 12-year-old movie if you haven't seen it, what do they say? You must be King Kong. And the answer is no, I am a slave in the South of America, the American South. And that was amazing, because all of the parallels, the drawing of the parallels to this, to what King Kong symbolically represents to American slavery, is unreal. It's unbelievable, the connections that one can make. And Quentin Tarantino does a beautiful job. And the same sort of, and I think that's actually the perfect template to sort of lay Nosferatu over anti-Semitic, you know, plague, plague creature, Jewish plague creatures that drink blood libel, that thing. It's all there. The Snooch says here, perfect example, Shylock and the Merchant of Venice. Or how John Travolta calls himself that in Get Shorty. Does he call himself Shylock? I did not know that. It's been a long time since I've seen Get Shorty. Bernard says Gustav Meyrink wrote the book Golem and the Green Face. Interesting. Business grateful for the 411. Angus McCorder says my northern UTE ex-wife and I live on a Utah reservation. You never wear a redskin hat there. Thank you. And Angus, may I ask, are you, if you don't mind sharing with us, what is your background? But would you imagine, it would be horrifying, right? It would be horrifying to walk around wearing a redskin hat on a Native American reservation. So imagine, you know, draw your parallels to other things and imagine how one might find it insensitive. Bottom line, me as a horror kid with my education in horror and understanding these things and being sort of weird and peculiar, I don't really have a problem with Nosferatu. But, you know, I can't speak for other Jews, other groups of Jews who might find it incredibly offensive. Okay, Fangzine brings up literally one of my favorite films that I've seen recently. Like, my new obsession is Jean Cocteau's Le Bel et le Bête. I've talked about it. That was a terrible French in pronunciation. I've talked about this film a lot on this channel. I love this movie. It is, in my opinion, it came out in 1947, post-World War II France. I think that it is the French answer to the universal horror cycle, right? Except it's using a classic tale from French literature. So in a way, Beauty and the Beast is the first universal horror story when you think about it. Robbie says Inglourious is my favorite QT film. As a whole cohesive film, I don't think it works as a whole cohesive film, but the scenes themselves it's some of the best scene writing. Quentin Tarantino is one of the best scene writers in the history of filmmaking. And Unglorious Bastards, while not being a cohesive story from start to finish, is absolutely contains some of the best scenes ever written. It's just brilliant. Robbie says it's effed up. I never realized that connection before that movie. Go rewatch that scene in Inglourious Bastards, and it will blow your friggin' mind. Biz says that Beauty and the Beast has its roots in Greek mythology, believe it or not. I did not know that. And I would love, please share the story. I'd like to know more. What? Slash is saying that that this was Danzig's favorite film. It all comes full circle. Are you talking about Beauty and the Beast, the 1947 version? That would be awesome if true. And Glenn, I would say, Glenn, you have good taste. Okay. So Angus says that he's white. He's Scottish Irish. I am open to any ethnicity. He says he grew up in a very diverse setting, but even so, it would be really, really, really awkward, weird, bad, offensive if you're going to walk around with a red skin cap on, right? I would imagine that sort of thing. What's going on? What's going on, JD? How you doing? What am I getting all of these interesting things? I gotta mute this real quick. Oh boy. Nailed it, Lizzie. Nailed it, Lizzie. So, what the hell? What else can I say? Lizzie Graves says one of my favorite movies. That's great. That is great. Eros and Psyche is the Greek myth. Right. Right. Thank you for that contribution. Glenn at one of the Veronica screenings said that Beauty and the Beast film was a huge inspiration. That is awesome. That is really, really awesome. JD says, what up, peeps? We already got that. One of your favorites. Mom says, yeah, I read it was Glenn's favorite movie back in the day. All right, we're getting distracted by all of these comments, so I'm going to move on. We haven't even gotten to anything yet. Oh my God, how did we do 37 minutes on just the opening alone? All right, I'm going to X this out, and we're going to move on to another. We're going to move on to another thing. Okay, this is a great little read right here. Let's take a look. This is called Kosher Vampires. Kosher Vampires. Hold on one second. Ready? JD, yes, you are, and you're welcome to contribute to the chat. We're glad you're here, sir. Thank you for joining us. Okay, Kosher Vampires. This is from the book With Both Feet on the Clouds. It's called Kosher Vampires: Jews, Vampires, and Prejudice. Very, very interesting. This is by Sahara Blau. I remember the moment very clearly. This is just an excerpt. I'm not going to download the whole thing. So I'm just going to read this a little bit, and then we're going to move on. Like I said, I have a lot of programming planned. It's great. It's great. We're learning. We're learning today. That's the goal of today, is to learn. I remember the moment very clearly. The repulsive figure of Count Orlok, the vampire, appeared on the screen, played by Max Schreck. The camera zoomed in on the hunched form with the hideous face and the beak-like nose, focusing on the look in his beady black eyes as they glared greedily at the pale young woman. Hit pause, I shouted at my friend, who was holding the remote control. We stared at the frozen image. Had I not known that I was looking at a frame from Nosferatu, the first vampire movie, which was made by the German director Friedrich Murnau in 1922, I might have thought the picture came straight out of the Nazi propaganda organ Der Strummer. The figure of the vampire was a carbon copy of the stereotype of a Jew in anti-Semitic caricatures of that period. Because remember, let's take a look at history, folks. World War I finishes up. You know what I'm saying? Germany is in deep economic squalor. People are desperate. People are ready to believe in anything, be united. Over on the Russian side, you have the Bolshevik Revolution, right? That day in October, they killed all the Tsars, Nicholas II. As a matter of fact, the reason why I'm talking to you here in America and not in Russia, thank goodness. Shout out to all of the people fighting for their independence in Ukraine right now. Frumess and this channel stands with you. My whole family comes from Russia originally. Why are we not in Russia right now? Because even though we didn't go to the Holocaust, none of us immediately got in the Holocaust. What instead happened was there were these things called pogroms, and you can look up what the word pogrom means. But a pogrom basically goes like this: it's basically a Jew hunt. Have you ever seen an American Tale, the cartoon Fievel? Remember Fievel the mouse? Talking about mice again in the terms of mouse. Remember mouse? We're just talking about mouse. Yes, I'm guessing Slava Ukraine means like hail Ukraine or something. By the way, that dude is a Jew. The president of Ukraine, who everybody's like realizing is like the most badass mother effer ever, is a Jew. Makes me very proud to be Jewish. They're like, Mr. President, do you want a helicopter? Do you want us to get you out of there? And he said, I don't need a ride. I need bullets. I was like, that's awesome. That is really freaking cool. In any case, Fievel, produced by Steven Spielberg, the Jewish director of all time. That beginning of that movie is a pogrom. All of the Russian Jews their houses were burned to the ground, hangings, all that sort of stuff, just riots where Jews are slaughtered and or kicked out of where they live, forced to flee. And in the case of my family, we found our way to America because we couldn't stay. And that was all under Nicholas II, the Tsar, the last Tsar of Russia. He in turn was him and his whole family. That's the whole Anastasia thing, that whole thing. They were murdered by the communists, the Bolsheviks, right? And then you had this other sort of thing that was formulating back then. You had the Jewish, there was this whole, there were these ties of Jews and communism, the Bolsheviks, that they were Jews and that they caused all this. And that, again, it always comes back to the Jews. So you have that going on over there in Germany. However, it's post World War I, and the Nazi Party is slowly rising to power, and the German people are slowly starting to be informed that the Jews are bad people and that we need to get rid of the Jews, or they're basically dehumanizing the Jews. And if you look at all of the propaganda in the 1920s in Germany, when Nosferatu is being made, you will see a very, very interesting, and then this goes back to what we're saying here. This is the parallel. It comes from the idea of writing what you know. Thank you for the support, Side Loose. I don't know if that was a tip or a subscription. Whatever the case, it's much appreciated. Thank you for your support. What I'm saying is there are parallels to your art. When you're making something, you're influenced by your environment. And in the case of Nosferatu and the vampiric myth and the stereotypical myths that are tied to that, all of it's getting mixed up in a pot. Nazi propaganda of what Jews like, vampire, the idea of the ratty Jew monster vampire invading the town and bringing plague and disease with it. And then on top of this notion, this dogma that Jews are the reason that everything's bad. We can blame the Jews. And that obviously begins the very beginnings of what would come in the 30s and later the 40s. And JD says that Slava Ukraine means glory to Ukraine. I love it. Love it. Great. Moving on. The figure was a carbon copy of the stereotype of a Jew in anti-Semitic caricatures of that period. I later found out that Julius Streicher, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, editor-in-chief of Der Stürmer, which was launched a year after the release of Nosferatu, was apparently influenced by the film. So how about that? So the person that is publishing Anti-Semitic, and this is where the ties are, or partially where the ties are. The person even I'm learning something. The person that's publishing anti-Semitic propaganda, like that, making Jews look monstrous, hideous stereotypes, in the same way that Aunt Jemima is a stereotype, was inspired by the film that had come out a year before. Orlok symbolized for him the ultimate other, in quotation marks, the anti-German, the contaminator of the pure blood, the carrier of plagues, in other words, the Jew. Hey, how you doing? I have often wondered when I first became enthralled by the world of vampires, with all of the allure and deception of its imminent darkness. I think I was in my teens. I imagine the appeal of the vampire world stemmed from a dark place in my soul, the same darkness. I think this is just that led me to volunteer as a all right. So this is now getting into a whole thing. Oh, wait, maybe not actually. It says the same darkness that led me to volunteer as a secretary for the Burial Society, and later to devote a large part of my adult life to studying the subject of the Holocaust. In essence, it allowed me to step lightly, irresponsibly, and seemingly securely. And then it says here, 1, I offer my gratitude to Chaim Breshith, whose marking the social other by blood, the vampire genre, inspired this essay. Fascinating. Okay, let us move on. Moving on up, moving on over. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, this one's going to be good. Check this out. Check this out. That's terrible. See, look, we have anti-Semitic comments in the comment. See, how could you not tie Nosferatu to anti-Semitism when you have stuff like this? Look at what this guy's saying. This perfectly highlights. We're not going to get angry or offended here. We're just going to highlight exactly what I'm talking about. Just talking about anti-Semitism. Nosferatu still lives. His name is Jonathan Greenblatt. How about that? Greenblatt, the last name Greenblatt. Hello. Get it. Thanks, Sid. Thanks for demonstrating to us how prevalent anti-Semitism is, and how you even today in the year 2022 that you can use Nosferatu to describe a Jew. That's terrible. Thanks for that, Sid. Appreciate you. This one's called The Twinned Evils of Nosferatu. Ooh, interesting. The great film and social document illuminates a primal fear, that of foreign contagion. And it's written in May 19th, 2020. So it's after March 20th, March 12th, which everybody knows March 2020 is when the world turned upside down. And we all know why it turned upside down. So it's interesting how he is, or how the author, and this is by Jay Haberman. Okay. Noteworthy as the first adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, a bit unkosher for being unauthorized. Now, what does he mean by that? As we said, it takes the story of Dracula, but changes all the details around, as it was not, essentially it's an adaptation of the movie. And they got, Stoker's widow, stopped the movie from coming out, or seized the movie. Almost every copy, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure some of what we're going to read here today, almost everything involving Nosferatu, like all the prints were destroyed except for one, I think. And from that one print, we now have all other Nosferatu prints. So Nosferatu was a lost film for a while, and would have continued to have been a lost film had it not been saved. And thank goodness it had, because again, Nosferatu is an incredible piece of art, truly. The great German filmmaker F.W. Murnau's 1922 silent horror masterpiece Nosferatu is an unquestionably brilliant piece of filmmaking. Can't argue there. A singular example of plein air cinema, achieving many eerie effects through the evocative use of location as well as camera placement. It largely restricts the use of shadows to those of the cast by the Transylvanian vampire, called here Count Orlok. Actually, one needn't see Nosferatu projected on a screen to be spooked by it. An image of Orlok's dead-eyed, rat-like visage alone could suffice. That creature is played most convincingly by an actor named Max Schreck. Is almost too good to be true. Although Schreck, which is fright in German and Yiddish, so once again, Yiddish, which borrows words from both Hebrew and German. Max Schreck, Schreck's last name is Yiddish. So Nosferatu is played by a Jew. It's a Jew in a Jewish stereotype role. It's interesting, man. Many insist that it must have been a pseudonym. The avant-garde filmmaker Stan Brakhage believed that it was Murnau himself in Shadow of the Vampire. Wait, what? Sorry. So this is interesting. So Stan Brakhage thinks that Murnau was actually Max Schreck, that Max Schreck didn't really exist, and that was actually Murnau, which would be that would be interesting. In which case, maybe Nosferatu was not played by a Jew. In Shadow of a Vampire, which is another super brilliant movie made by the same dude who made The Begotten. And do you know who produced Shadow of the Vampire, by the way? Friggin' Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage, his production company, produced Saturn Films, and they won awards for it. And you don't see his name in the same way that Mel Brooks, Mel Brooks was the producer on The Fly, David Cronenberg's The Fly. He didn't want his name to take away from what the thing was. And I think Nicolas Cage kind of did the same. And Nicolas Cage is a huge fan of German expressionism. You could see it in his acting, which he calls nouveau shamanism or Western kabuki. And I don't know, it's very interesting. And the character is played by Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe plays Max Schreck as a vampire, and you have John Malkovich as F.W. Murnau. Toxic Swamp, thank you so much for the support. Pear character jumping up and down and saying #1 fan. I guess what that means is that's an emoji that was used, and this is a tip. Thank you. Hey, much appreciated for your support. And because I'm using third-party software, it's hard to see the tips sometimes, guys, when you tip. So, like I said, I want to make sure everybody who tips gets highlighted with shout-outs. It's very important to me. So I just want to, again, throw the horns, say thank you. Or maybe I should say blah, blah. Let's get back to this. This is I'm fascinated by this. So in E. Elias Mirhid, I can't pronounce the Begotten director, in Shadow of the Vampire, Schreck is actually a vampire who's played by Willem Dafoe, and it's a crime that he did not win an Academy Award for this. I mean, it's just absolutely terrible to me. Thanks to Dracula, Murnau, and Schreck, Nosferatu would seem to be the only silent that remains something of a cult film. Let me take that line again. That was really bad reading. Thanks to Dracula, Murnau, and Schreck, Nosferatu would seem to be the only silent that remains something of a cult film. Indeed, there is reason to believe that Nosferatu was designed to inspire a cult. The movie's main force was not Murnau, but the graphic artist and architect Albin Grau. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. And this I did not know at all. I'm learning stuff, guys. He was a serious occultist who not only produced, but designed the film, including Orlok. So Grau intended Nosferatu to inaugurate a series of supernatural dramas with a bang. His short-lived production company called Prana, which is Sanskrit for life force, spent as much on the movie's lavish premiere. So that's interesting. So the budget of the movie was essentially spent on the premiere itself. And we all know what happened at the premiere. Very sad, tragic story. We'll see it in a minute. March 4th, 1922, which is which happens to be 2 days away from now, making it 100 years. Can you believe that? 100 years of Nosferatu. Happy birthday, Nosferatu. That's great. At Berlin's largest cinema, the Zoopalast. The Zoopalast. Oh, I see the fan. I mean, I see the Pearman. It's on my phone. That's awesome. Zacula's got to bounce. Zach, thanks for dropping in. We appreciate your viewer support. We'll catch you next time, buddy. The mad costume party that followed the screening gave Nosferatu an underground camp reputation that still maintains. That's interesting. I did not know that. One might see it as a precursor to Kenneth Anger's early 50s Halloween party Sorry, guys, that's the COVID. Tell me, am I a plague Jew? Should you stay away from me? Will I pass along the plague to you? Inauguration of the Pleasure Dome. I know I didn't pronounce that first word right. I'm not going to try it again. Anger, like Grau, was a fan of British magus Aleister Crowley. What does magus mean again? I think magician or something, right? Let's look that up. I know he's like a cult guy too. That means a member of a priestly caste of ancient Persia. Interesting. Many of those involved in Nosferatu, including Murnau, Schreck, and the screenwriter Henrik Galeen, who I think he was Jewish. He was Jewish. All right, bye. Everybody's leaving my party. Where are you going? Bye. Oh, he says, I'm ready to go, man. Take me out. I get it, because I just did the whole, I'm a plague Jew. I'm going to spread the plague everywhere. Nosferatu. Right. Sorry. So screenwriter Henrik Galeen were associated with the hypothetical director Max Reinhardt, and Murnau himself was gay. In film history, Nosferatu can be twinned with Fritz Lang being another famous Jewish director from Germany, who also had to flee because of Hitler. Nosferatu can be twinned with Fritz Lang's Dr. Mabuse, the Gambler, which I've never seen. It was in my Netflix, so I don't think they have it on Hulu anymore. But really, really, really awesome. Which opened at the Zoopalast a month later. Mabuse, too, was a supervillain, a secretive master manipulator of stock markets, currency, and disguise, obsessed with power and possessing the hypnotic ability to cloud men's minds. Mabuse, I don't know if I'm saying, guys, am I pronouncing that right? I don't know. Mabuse has no distinguishing physical characteristics, although one of his many get-ups is that of an elderly Eastern European Jewish peddler, and another is a practitioner of the so-called Jewish science psychoanalysis. Still, such was the temper of the times, however, that one Munich critic described the criminal genius as the image of the eternal Jew. Mostly, however, Mabuse was promoted as and taken for a portrait of contemporary Weimar Germany, politically unstable, beset with hyperinflation, rife with conspiracy, reeling from military defeat, and the influenza pandemic, which mutilated war veterans, a common sight place. So all of that stuff is happening when the Nazis rise to power, when all of this Jewish propaganda stuff. It's like when times were crazy and hard, it became very easy to blame things on Jews. It became, because why? Because it's something that had been done for time immemorial, going back to the Middle Ages, going back. Jews, you know why Jews are associated with money? Because our people were not allowed to have other kinds of jobs. In medieval Europe, we weren't allowed to do what everybody else did. The only way we could earn a living was by lending money. We became money lenders. And so, Jews being, the Jews, they worked hard, they studied, they believed in education and studied and all this sort of stuff, and they were prosperous. Because that's one thing that you can see throughout the millennium of the Jewish story, the overall Jewish story, is that Jews face adversity, they work their asses off, and they end up rising above some sort of, what's it called? Not obstacle. What am I thinking of? The word, not obstacle. They rise above, what's the word? Come on, guys. Somebody say it. Somebody say the word. What is the word? They rise above oppression. Is it oppression? They rise above oppression and that sort of thing. Jews were, and people resented Jews for having the money. People resented that Jews for owing them money, that sort of thing. And so things, all these nasty things start to develop. Oh yeah, Jews, they eat the blood of, they drink the blood of babies. They bake bone, they make bone bread, whatever, just whatever, that sort of thing. Adversity. Thank you. Goat boy pockets. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Persevere is good too. Lizzie, persevere is good too. Adversity is good. Both good words. Rise above adversity, that sort of thing. But with that sort of history in the way background, because it goes back hundreds of years, right? We can't blame what happened back then on what was happening in 1920s Germany. But with that in the background, in the background of the history, it becomes very easy to look at Jews as subhuman, and it helps to look at Jews as subhuman when they look like rats carrying plague, aka the Spanish flu, which is very similar to history repeating itself, right? They had their own controversies back then and their own divides and yada 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 yada. Mostly, however, Mebus was promoted as and taken for a portrait of contemporary Weimar Germany. Oh, we already read that. Sorry. Blah 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 blah. So this was the background, the back place, as we said, politically unstable, hyperinflation, lots of conspiracy, reeling from military defeat. You have a influenza pandemic. Mutilated war veterans, and now here's this movie, Nosferatu, largely seen as morbid fantasy, tapped into an equally topical yet more ahistorical. What does the word ahistorical mean? Let's look it up. Let us look it up. Lacking historical particulars. Biz says, you don't have to entertain us when you're under the weather. I'm quarantined. I can't go anywhere. Like, what's funny? Quick side story. I literally spent almost 2 years. I never got sick. I never caught COVID. I was totally cool. I went to the Alamo Draft House in Winchester, Virginia, drove out there. My movie, Romeo's Distress, was playing. You can watch Romeo's Distress, my feature-length film, on this channel, uncut and for free. It's a great way to support me and this channel without paying a cent. So go check it out. Go bookmark it. And when I came back, I took a test this morning. I was totally had COVID. It's crazy. Right. Exactly, Lizzie. Lacking historical content, being ahistorical. Do the 5. So Nosferatu was addressing a particular social need. Initially, Nosferatu was seen as a reflection of the Great War. Albin Grau said as much, comparing the conflict to a cosmic vampire drinking the blood of millions. But as noted by Fraud's British colleague Ernest Jones in his psychoanalytic study of nightmares, vampire legends proliferate in periods of mass contagion. So does xenophobia. How about that? So once again, back in the day, people blamed Jews for the Black Plague, and then all of a sudden, you now have, once again, you have the Spanish influenza, and contagion is rampant, as all those conditions we said. And once again, the idea of Nosferatu, the Jew, being responsible for that. Interesting. Really upsetting when you think about it. Could you imagine if that's how it was today? It would be terrible. Absolutely terrible. The movie received mixed reviews. Evidently, leftist critics saw it as an attempt to stupefy the masses with supernatural fog, but would achieve another sort of notoriety as a cause célèbre when Florence Stoker took legal action against the unlicensed adaptation of her late husband's most endearing work. In 1925, a German court ordered all copies destroyed, but like the vampire Nosferatu, traveled to other countries. And sorry, that's a terrible line. Let's take that again. Dagger Love says he'd feel much better if I was wearing a mask. I have one right here, but then it would be harder to talk into the microphone. Can COVID be transferred electronically? We don't actually know. As I said, in 1925, a German court ordered all copies destroyed, but like the vampire, Nosferatu traveled to other countries and enjoyed a sort of twilight phantom existence. So here's where things get really cool and interesting. A print surfaced in a London film society in late 1928 and in New York, oh God, I can't read. A print surfaced in London Film Society in late 1928 and New York Art Cinema 6 months later. Its cult stature burnished by its forbidden existence. Years later, the same 8th Street movie house would be an early home for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So the birth of cult cinema began at the 8th Street and like was whatever you want to call it, crystallized in 1978. The Rocky Horror Picture took about 3 years. So who or what is Nosferatu's ancient, tremendously powerful? So who or what? So who or what is Nosferatu's ancient, tremendously powerful creature? A sort of humanoid. What is this? Why can't I read? Oh my God. Rain or shine, COVID be damned. Let's try this again. So who or what is Nosferatu's ancient, tremendously powerful creature, a sort of humanoid rodent given an imposing hooked nose, who communicates with his minions in a mysterious code, which, of course, as you know, does include several Hebrew letters, as well as the Star of David. Hello, it's in the fucking movie. It's in the movie. Hebrew, Ivrit. Ani medaber Ivrit. Kitzat Ivrit. Ani lomed be'olpan be'Israel. Ve'rehov Benjamin Yehuda. Ve-2009. Did I freeze? I don't think I froze. I think you froze. In any case, so how about that? He's a humanoid rodent, right? Am I still frozen? Better not be frozen. I better not be frozen. Am I frozen? Someone answer me. I demand to know whether I am frozen or not before I continue. All right, whatever. Not here? No, I'm good. All right, cool. So anyway, oh, it's working. Okay, sorry guys. Sorry, that happens sometimes. So as we said, he's a humanoid rodent given an imposing hooked nose who communicates to his minions in a mysterious code, which includes several Hebrew letters, as well as the Star of David, which is the symbol of my people, the Jews, and contaminating every space he occupies. Like he arrives out of the east with a swarm of plague-bearing rats to feast on the blood of naive Aryans until destroyed through an act of Christian sacrifice by a virtuous woman. How about that? How about that? Arrives out of the east with a swarm of plague-bearing rats to feast on the blood of native Aryans until destroyed through an act of Christian sacrifice by a virtuous woman. I mean, look, I'm not condemning Nosferatu I'm just saying, like, let's acknowledge what it represents and what it symbolizes underneath, like what it is, what it's connected to, what its history comes from. That's all I'm saying. I love Nosferatu. As I said, I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. I don't think it's not problematic for me. It is problematic for others. I would be lying if I said not. But like as Angus here, as Angus here was talking about, you wouldn't want to walk around a reservation wearing a Redskins hat. It would be really offensive. Rightfully so. The vampire recalls two mysterious slanders against European Jews. Okay, so here you go. The vampire recalls two monstrous slanders against European Jews, invoking both the blood libel. What is blood libel? That is like the root of anti-Semitism in Europe, throughout the centuries in Europe. Blood libel and the accusation of poisoning wells to spread disease that resulted in the widespread pogroms. Remember that word pogrom? And the near extermination of Jews throughout the Rhineland in the mid-14th century. So I did not know that. The near extermination of Jews throughout the Rhineland, which is Germany, in 1943. So there were pogroms even in Germany. What is a pogrom? An organized, here's a better definition of what a pogrom is. Ready? The reason why I'm in America, the reason why my great-grandfather had to leave his home and everything that he knew and loved behind. An organized massacre of particular ethnic group, in particular that of Jewish people in Russia or Eastern Europe in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Interesting. So there you go. That resulted in widespread pogroms and the near extermination of Jews throughout the Rhineland in the mid-14th century. With the German economy bled dry by rampant inflation, the season of Nosferatu and Mabuse also saw the assassination of Foreign Minister Walter Rathenau by right-wing terrorists who considered himself as the leading Jewish wire puller. So this guy was assassinated because he was one of the Jews pulling the strings behind the Weimar Republic. Moreover, in addition to the Spanish flu pandemic, the aftermath of the Great War brought tens of thousands of Ostjuden to Berlin. So Juden is the German word for Jew, Juden, Juden. That's how you pronounce it. And you used to see that on the gold star, Ostjuden. So that means Eastern Jews in Germany. Now there's another word for our people. There's three types of Jews. You have Ashkenazi Jews. That's me. I'm an Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi means of Germanic descent. You have Mesrahim Jews. Mesrahim Jews stayed in the Middle East. They were Babylonian. They're descendants of the Babylonian slaves. That my wife, that they live in Iraq and stuff. My wife is half Mesrahim. The other half she is Sephardim. Sephardic. She's a Sephardic Jew. Sephardic Jews went all the way up to Spain. And you know what happened in Spain in the 15th century? The Spanish Inquisition, where all Jews were either killed, forced to convert to Catholicism, or had to flee the country. Do you know that there is a right of return for anybody who has Jewish, Spanish ancestry, where, for a time being, they wanted Jews to come back to Spain. Even centuries removed, they wanted the descendants to come back. Thank you, Retro. I don't know what that was, but I appreciate your support, Retro Gem. Much appreciated, truly. So you have Sephardim. So my children are Ashkenazi, Mesrahim, and Sephardim Jews all together, all mixed into all together into one. That they have roots all over. It's amazing. Jews of the world, as they say. Although the vampire's Jewishness now seems as obvious as the outsized nose on its face, it's striking that neither of the two leading commentators on the film, Siegfried, I'm so sorry, I'm butchering this name, Siegfried Krascher and Lottie Eisner, note this fact. Both were Jews. Eisner is a super Jewy name. I can say Jewy. I think if you're not a Jew, you can't use the word Jewy. It's, again, the same thing with the N word. Like, it's like one of those things. And again, that doesn't mean that Jew is a pejorative. It just means like, it's kind of like a, I don't know, it's like a thing. I feel like you can't do that. So here's Sid. Sid says, why didn't you marry a shiksa? A shiksa is a derogatory word for a non-Jewish woman. And it's a very insulting word. I don't know if it's very insulting. It's not a nice word. It's not a particularly nice word. So, but we all know that Sid is anti-Semitic or something of the sort, or at least doesn't have any problem throwing anti-Semitic things around. So unless Sid is a Jew as well, maybe he is. It's totally fine if he is. But he is a prime example of the things that we are kind of talking about a little bit. So then to Nosferatu. So Nosferatu's script was written by a Jew, which might explain also why that also explains why there is Hebrew symbols prevalent in the script. Although that wouldn't have been because of Henrik necessarily. That might have been because of Grau, the production designer. So I don't know. So Henrik Galeen, a specialist in the uncanny, whose previous screenplays included The Golem. So Der Golem was actually also written by Henrik. And the cast included several Jewish actors, most notably Alexander Granach, who plays the vampire's henchman and was the foremost Jewish actor in Berlin. Generally supportive of Jewish culture, Galeen was generally supportive of Jewish culture, though being a Jew himself. Galeen was involved with a troupe like the Vilna Troupe's 1922 Berlin production of the Dubik. The Dubik, that's another Yiddish that's like another Yiddish mythological creature or thing. There is no suggestion that Murnau or Grau, who weren't Jewish, were anti-Semitic. Okay, so there it is. So Slasher, where is Slash? I don't know if Slasher X is still here. He might have peeled out, but Slasher, that answers your question right there. No one is necessarily, it's not necessarily saying that they were anti-Semitic, or at least it can't be proven that they were anti-Semitic and that they were in fact collaborating with Jewish artists on Nosferatu. Nosferatu is created in part by Jews. However, it is taking from a lot of anti-Semitic tropes. It can't be denied. Winston Smith says, how do I feel about South Park jokes? Mixed. I feel very mixed. I love South Park. And, you know, the thing about South Park that I do love is that, like, you know, nothing is sacred in South Park. And it's almost like the one time, and there are certain episodes where maybe like it doesn't work, but South Park is like that one time where like it's just totally okay to make fun of anybody. Maybe because they're so ridiculous in the way that they make fun of others that it seems to be like Teflon. It just slides off them. So how do I feel about the South Park jokes particularly? Neither which way. What, like about Kyle being a Jew? Sometimes maybe they take it too far. I try my best to not let this stuff bother me anymore. If anything, I like to amplify it because it shows to show other people that this stuff is real. Because that's the hardest problem with anti-Semitism. It's ignorance. It's that people are not aware that this stuff is here and that it exists. And that if you shine a light on it, you can at least be aware of it. I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not saying that you have to fight it tooth and nail. I'm not saying that you have to I was going to say disavow. Of course you should disavow anti-Semitism, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's not about, maybe not necessarily having to take like a super active role, but at least being aware that it exists and that it's out there. And maybe some of being understanding of these things, I guess, that's the best way to put it. I don't know. Indeed, the love of Murnau's life, which was a poet named Hans Erhenbaum Diegel, killed in the war, was the son of a Jewish banker. Of course, Bram Stoker's Dracula was already saturated with anti-Semitism, being a thrilling scare story about a blood-sucking parasite and a predatory R word, you know what I'm going to say, that word that begins with the word rap. Just add the rest of the word to the word rap. Who associated with rats and bats and terrified of the crucifix. So that is an interesting notion. The idea that like being terrified of the crucifix is not because you're a creature, it is because you're a creature of the devil, but because you're a Jew, and that Jews are terrified of Christian ideals or something. Here you go. JD says, doing or saying something with the intent of hurting a person is wrong, but with social media, the line has been blurred. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And like I said, everything is subjective. And the problem with society today, the problem with this idea of like what cancel culture is and like just all this stuff is that like everything is in super black and white to one extreme or the other. There's no like in between ground. There's no like being like, hey, like this is kind of like ignorant. This is kind of like ignorant of its like historical ties, but like it doesn't necessarily mean intentional malice, even though it does create malice as a byproduct. You know, that's a very, what I just said, that's like a very, that's not black and white. That's a very sort of like, you know, nuanced thing. That's a nuanced thing. So, okay. By some accounts, Stoker based Dracula on Shylock. How did you know? How do you like that? There's Shylock again. Stoker based Dracula on Shylock as the character was performed by his friend, the actor Sir Henry Irving. Angus says, things are black and white because they do not study and reflect. Yeah, man, I think that's a great way. I think that is a great way to put it. JD says, back in the day, we might call something gay, but it meant this sucks, not aimed at a person, but I see that it's still wrong. I think that's actually a pretty good example of what I was just talking about, JD. And if you go back to the beginning of this episode, we addressed the gay thing. We addressed the gay thing and using the F word and how it now is more like the N word and like how things have changed and how we, you know, the idea of enlightenment and realizing that maybe like this is like, you know, this doesn't work, or the idea that maybe if you're using the word gay, yeah, you're not coming from a place of malice towards gay people. But the fact of the matter is, like, gay people identify as gay. I am like saying, hey, I'm a gay person. And that's a noun. So now you're using that noun in a negative way, a pejorative way. You are now adding negativity to what that thing represents. And that's what it is. Like and yet there are people that are doing it, that are saying it, and they're not saying it to be hurtful or to be mean. They're just saying it because they're saying it because it's socially acceptable. And that's kind of changed over the years. Lizzie says, social media has given everyone a voice with little fear of consequences. People say things on the internet they probably wouldn't say to other people's faces. Sure, there's that too. Mick says that I sound like the guy from Annoying Orange. I've never watched Annoying Orange. I kind of look like an annoying orange because I have this light on me, although I think it's more of a red light than an orange light. But okay, Mick, that I'll take it. Lizzie says, I know that a general statement, but it's more or less true. And JD agrees. Oh, whoops. Whoa. Didn't mean to say that. Didn't mean to flash that. That is, let's not go there. Let's not go there. Okay. Now, so nor is there any evidence that Hitler liked or even saw Nosferatu. And yet Mein Kampf, published in 1925, makes multiple references to Jews as vampires, bloodsuckers, and parasites, as well as that race which shuns the sunlight. So how about that? So in Mein Kampf, Jews are referred to as vampires, bloodsuckers, parasites. These and similar metaphors were picked up by followers like the Nazi ideologue Albert Rosenberg, who repeatedly used quasi-biological terms to characterize Jews as a vampire bacillus infecting their German host. Once war broke out, the tone grew even more shrill, as in the 1943 Nazi pamphlet, The Jewish Vampire Brings Chaos to the World. The vilest of Nazi propaganda films, The Eternal Jew, released in 1940, specifically compared Eastern European Jews to a plague of rats and ended with a blood-draining sequence of ritual slaughter for kosher meat. In his analysis of the most lavish example of Nazi anti-Semitism called Jew Sus, the scholar Eric Rentschler persuasively argued that Sus combined aspects of Mabuse and Nosferatu, the great villain of Nazi cinema, was a specter from the Weimar, suck, dude, cinema, the cinema is refracted through a Nazi prism. Yet even as their imagery was employed by Nazi propagandists, neither Mabuse nor Nosferatu were canonical. You guys know I have a learning disability, right? Like, you know, I can't read. Like, I literally cannot read. I cannot pronounce words. Canonical, whatever. The guy who least likes to read, now reading all the time on the internet. I like to read. What I mean is I'm not good at reading is what I mean. Oh, that's true. Maybe Dagger's right. Maybe I have COVID brain fog. I am reading this while infected with COVID. Dagger, you're funny. And it's true. On the contrary, Grau was forced to leave Germany, not as a Jew, but as an occultist. In 1942, one Nazi screenwriter argued for the need to protect the public from the Weimar supernaturalism, citing Nosferatu in particular. What does this fear of contamination tell us? A few weeks ago, I participated in an online discussion of Nosferatu organized by the Los Angeles group called Yiddishkeit. One of the last questions put to the panel concerned Nosferatu's use value today. So now we're talking about Nosferatu in today's terms, right? Begging the question as to whether art must be useful, one need only have eyes to see Nosferatu. Interesting. Huh. Wait, so one of the last questions put to the panel concerned Nosferatu's use value today. Begging the question as to whether art must be useful, one need only have eyes to see Nosferatu as great filmmaking and an interest in 20th century history to recognize it as a revealing social document. Makes total sense. But more than a prime example of that imagery, Nosferatu illuminates a primal fear, that of foreign contagion. This fear is neither restricted to Nazis nor solely fixated on Jews. Hitler came to power in 1933. The same year brought The Bride of Fu Manchu, one of the more popular series of pulp novels, founded on Anglo-Saxon racial terror of the so-called Yellow Peril, in which the evil Chinese mastermind infects the south of France with a plague virus. Earlier this month, the New York Times reported that years before the current pandemic we're in, Trump's chief advisor on immigration, Stephen Miller, a Jew, fucking hate it when Jews give us a bad name, dude. Just sucks. It sucks. Persistently linked foreign migrants with diseases. So here is an example of your token Jew, perfectly capable of doing the same thing that had been done to his people, you know. And, you know, it's interesting. Stephen Miller's family was terribly embarrassed by Stephen Miller's actions during that administration. And his parents, either his parents or his uncle, somebody published like a Medium piece, like an essay piece about Stephen Miller and about Stephen Miller's family and where they come from and why his actions in today's administration are so shameful for a Jew. And it's true. He is a shameful Jew, a Jew that gives the rest of us a bad name, just like Jared Kushner. Like, just really hate that guy. Okay. Toxic Swamp is going to correct some of our things. He says Crowley is pronounced dot, dot, dot. All right, he's going to, we'll come back to him. He's going to give us some phonetical pronunciations. Where were we? Persistently linking foreign migrants with diseases, including influenza and the mumps, in an attempt to have immigration declared a health emergency. Back in March, the New York office of the FBI issued an alert that a white supremacist group had concocted a plan to spread the pandemic among Jews, presumably so that Jews would be blamed for infecting the general population. The plot was lunatic, but also logical. It's insane. It's insane. If anybody wants to read more about that, I'm going to actually put that in the comments, because that is that's some that is some educational reading. Hold on one second. All right, here we go. So check it out. This is that article. I'm not going to deviate from what we're doing here, but there it is. It's in there. Gamer Retro Gem Media says, are there any examples of the media that stirs racial panic nowadays? Well, that is a long question that I can't. That is a long question that I'm not going to answer right now, but yes. Okay, so Dagger says Crowley is pronounced like crow, but Ozzy says it the other way, so it will stay that way. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Get Out. Get Out might do it. Good point. Good. That's good. That was a good one. I wasn't even thinking of that. Sure. We're losing it, guys. We're losing it. The plot was a lunatic. Okay. We're at the end of the article. Otto Fenichel, who joined the Psychoanalytic Institute of Berlin the same year as Nosferatu's release, later wrote that xenophobia and anti-Semitism were a form of projection. The hatred and fear of foreigners can be expressed in a single sentence. One's own unconscious is also foreign. The frightening power of Nosferatu is that it dramatizes one plague and embodies another. That was a phenomenal read. And we're going to move on. We have more here. We have more here for you. I think we're actually doing pretty good on time, because I really thought that this was going to go. I thought we would be like 2.5 hours deep by now, but we're not. We're not. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. Toxic Swamp says, like the bird, Crowley, and Dybbuk is Debok. Debok? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's Dybbuk. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, listen, I honestly don't know. But I feel like it might be Dybbuk. I'm doing fine, dude. Thank you. I appreciate the support here. Let's keep moving on. Let us keep moving on. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing, liking this video, leaving a comment. All of that stuff is very important in supporting the channel. Oh boy, this is why did I do this to myself? This is a big one. It's not a big one, it's just dense and thick and goopy. Hold on, let me take off my jacket. The ibuprofen is definitely doing the trick, though. Hold on 1 second. Uno momento. All right, so Toxic Swamp actually says the rabbi in the original film from 1907 pronounced it as Debuk. Okay, hey, listen, I yield to what you're saying. Woo. All right, let's do the next one. The next one is going to be super duper. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's redundant. Maybe we've hit it all already. Oh, JD, thank you so much. JD, thank you for the support. I truly, bro, thank you. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you, JD. JD has been, along with Toxic Swamp and Biz and everybody, all you guys have been really great. Really appreciate you, truly. The money really helps on the channel. Let's move on. Okay, so this one is called. Guys, I might skim this if I don't want to be redundant here. If it's too, come on, you stupid thing. You take my hand. You'll never know another quite like it. And if you did, you'll see that I'm a lonely one. I lost my soul deep inside. Oh, and it's so black and cold deep inside. I love that song. That's a very Roy Orbison song, by the way. That song. Love that song. Okay. This is super small print, and I am wearing glasses. Really dumb idea. Really, really dumb idea to wear these glasses in the dark, but what can I do? This is called Plague, Shadows, and Anti-Semitism, Rethinking the Place of Nosferatu in the Classroom. So this is cool because it's coming from things from an educational standpoint in the classroom. One image from Nosferatu is so fiercely prevalent in today's horror and Halloween repertoire that most people know the scene even if they've never seen the film. Count Orlok, played by Max Schreck, rises with the help of only his mind like a plank from the floor of the cargo hold of the ship that has ferried him from Transylvania to Germany. Yet few modern audiences who watch the film in movie halls or at home recognize this moment as warning, repeated throughout the film, about the dangers that foreigners, especially Jews, pose to civilization, that is, Christendom. This sign of Orlok's ability to suspend the laws of science and establishes him as an unnatural creature to be feared, a reference clear to the filmmakers and the contemporary viewers. Over a century after the film's release, it is worth re-examining Nosferatu as a cultural artifact about anti-Semitism and xenophobia, and not only as an example of prevalent German attitudes. Directed by F.W. Marino and adapted by Henrik Galeen in 1922, Nosferatu is the tale of a Transylvanian count. We already know what the tale is. I'm not going to tell you. The film's audiences now and then recognize the storyline because it's Dracula. But they could not receive the rights to make the film, so they changed things around. This problem did not prevent them from pursuing the project. First, they changed all the characters' names, right? I'm not going to go through that. The characters' names change. The action in the film takes place in Germany, right, instead of England. And the ending changed in Nosferatu. Nonetheless, the novelist's widow, Florence Stoker, successfully sued in the German court of law to destroy all copies of the film after its release, a key legal decision in both German economic and cinematic history. Fortunately for historians, a few illegal copies survived in France and the United States. So I guess it was more than one. It was a few. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Lizzie has joined as a member of the Frumess channel. And I just want to say thank you very much to Lizzie, JD, Toxic Swamp, all you guys. Fucking thank you so much for your support. It's truly great. Look who it is. And look who else is here. Fucking Rue is in the house. Rue, I miss you, man. How are you, buddy? How are you? I feel like I haven't talked to you. Oh, man. You got everybody here. But in any case, Lizzie, seriously, thank you for joining. Really appreciate your support. Check out some of the members only content that we have on the channel. Sometimes we have, early premieres, and some stuff is exclusive to members only. Biz says, to that, I say, don't feel bad when someone gives the community a bad name. They're only giving themselves a bad name. I think she's referring to Stephen Miller giving Jews a bad name. I agree. Wilson Smith says, as far as the big screen and cinema, it must have been awesome to have your film play in the theater. Yes, Romeo's Distress, dude. It was awesome. And I totally got COVID. and it was worth it. It was worth that price. So it wasn't one copy that survived. It was multiple copies that survived. Nosferatu serves as a valuable teaching tool in discussions about anti-Semitism in Europe for both European survey courses as well as upper-level German history seminars. That's fascinating. So it's used as an anti-Semitic teaching tool. Yet the most important theme of the film, anti-Semitism, must be contextualized within a larger historical and geographical setting. Certainly, the film codes Orlok as the stereotypical Eastern European Jew, with extended shots of Orlok's long and pointed nose, the use of extra shadow to literally darken his bushy eyebrows against a large, pallid forehead, the costuming that made Orlok's lack of normal masculine musculature apparent. The German filmmaker team did not create this image. Stoker had provided them with the features to portray Orlok as Jewish, because as we've previously read, the anti-Semitic origins of Nosferatu also tie to the original novel written by Bram Stoker. Lizzie, thank you. You love all my content. That's wonderful. That makes me happy. And as long as you keep watching, I'll keep making it, man. Really, truly. Or, yeah. Rue says, I'm always here, bro. Busy working, but I always listen. That makes me, Rue, if I could give you a pound and like a bro hug, I totally fucking would right now. You're the best, man. And I hope that you are well. I hope your son is well. I hope everybody, that all your peoples, I hope you guys are all doing well. And yeah, just wanted to say that. Rue, we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of this channel. Oh my God, guys, 18 days. It's 18 days until 2 years of this channel and its content. I didn't even realize we're coming up on 2 years. Can you believe that? That is crazy. That is friggin' crazy. That's nuts. All right. Sorry. Let's get back to it. Getting all gushy here. Nosferatu serves as a valuable teaching tool. Right. We already said that. Where are we? We got lost. I got lost in the thing. Stoker. Okay. So this is what's fascinating. The German filmmaking team did not create this image of the Jewy image of Nosferatu. Stoker had provided them with the features to portray Orlok as Jewish. Galen's script closely follows Stoker's description of Dracula, whom Stoker describes in the following manner. Dracula's face was a strong, very strong aquiline with a high bridge of a thin nose and peculiarly arched nostrils with a lofty domed forehead. As Matthew Biberman has observed, English literature from the medieval period to the early modern era gradually feminized images of Jews. Thus, a useful exercise for students to learning about the anti-Semitism of this pre-World War II period should not stop at comparing the image of Orlok in Nosferatu with the later Nazi anti-Semitic propaganda. For example, the marketing material for these words, this is German that I just can't say. This is a film, I guess. A promotional film, Der Irrweg Jude, directed by Fritz Hippler in 1940, or images from the anti-Semitic children's book, Der Giftpilz. Oh my God. I kind of want to read that book. Wait. That's crazy. Der Giftpilz. That's nuts. Let's see. Paul asks, is it okay for anti-Semites to watch your movie Romeo's Distress? Yes, it's totally okay. And you're more than welcome to. I would love that. It's free on this channel. Guys, make sure that you watch, let the ads play over it. Oh, here we go. We got a nut bar here. He's saying, he's doing a little emoji of a bank. He says, you have seen who you pray to, and I cast it off all. You worship a black frog's head, Allah. Oh boy. He says, the prophecies give to the remnant of Israel and the 144,000 children, all Jewish, who do not use TV. Bad boom, boom, boom. Mark of 10. Oh, my Lord. Okay, Wesley. Okay, Wesley. Okay, Wesley. Here's a sane person for a second. Toxic Swamp says, I always wondered why there is anti-Semitism. The answer I got was maybe because they killed Jesus. I thought, oh, great. All this hatred over mythology. Oy vey. No, it's not that. It's not that. I don't know if you missed it earlier. It comes from resentment. It comes from resentment. It comes from resentment of the Middle Ages. As I said, I'll repeat it super quick, super condensed. Jews were the money lenders. Just became, oh no, shit, I got knocked out for a second. I'm back. Can you see me? So much happened just now. So much happened. Hold on a second. I got to shout out Jake Bailey also became a member. So we have 2 new members. Thank you so much, new members. Please check out for sponsored content. We appreciate. Where did I freeze, guys? Gosh darn it. Guys, where did I freeze? Where did I freeze? Jake, I see you just became a pizza punk. Welcome to the Pizza Punk Club. No, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Much appreciated. I'm good now. Guys, where did I freeze, though? I need to know where I froze. Stupid Wi-Fi. Just tell me where I froze so I can continue my little tirade. Guess people just want other to blame. An easy answer. Wait, what? Am I freezing again? Gosh darn it. The stream is getting lost here. Hold on. No, I got to go back up in the comments. Hold on. So it's not, yeah. So this is just one of many things, though. Toxic Swamp. This is just one of many things. The anti-Semitism is not just about like blaming the Jews for killing Jesus. That's just one of many things that are used like for anti-Semitism. It comes from, we have always been scapegoats. It comes from the fact that, again, as I said, Jews tend to be well-educated, hardworking people. Jews were the money lenders, and that created resentment when you owe money to Jews in that kind of way, that sort of thing. It's a whole, there's so much to say about it. Biz says, well, Toxic, it's because humanity has been a bunch of a-holes since probably like the caveman days or something. Well, I think it's also, listen, it's not just the Jews. There are lots of different groups that are demonized. Look at what happened to the Romas, I don't know what you call them because that word is not a nice word to use. Romas, you call them the Romas. They have also been prosecuted as well. They were prosecuted in the Holocaust too. You know what I'm saying? All right, we're back. I'm back. Yeah, and ultimately people just want an other to blame. But yes, the passion plays in the Middle Ages were all about how the Jews killed Jesus. It was determined that the Jews were the reason that Jesus went, which is kind of funny too, be considering the fact that Jesus himself was a Jew, supposedly. I was explaining where anti-Semitism stems from, and like I said, that's where it stems from. That's where some of it stems from. Right, money lenders. I'm super high. Makes like super high listening to a guy with COVID ramble about anti-Semitism. Had some extra scratch from my Jewy tax return, right? This Nazi punks can F off. That's hilarious. Medieval times, Jewish people were money lenders. Exactly. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not going to say that word because it's not a nice word. That's a really nasty word. I read Mouse and Mouse 2, my first semester in college, English composition, 2005, 17 years ago. So we were in college at the same time. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we were talking about Mouse earlier and how, you know, how it all works. All right, let's get back to it, guys. We're almost through here. We're almost through. I want to thank everybody so much for this has been a really good conversation, really good symposium. Yes, you had Jewish jewelers. My wife's grandfather, he comes from Kirkuk, Iraq. Okay, his name is Sammy, and his parents had to flee Kirkuk, Iraq, because his father was a banker who was killed for his money by a Muslim Arab. And so they, at 8 years old, Sammy, after his father was murdered, they took whatever they had on them. They left all of their wealth behind in Kirkuk, Iraq, and they had to go to Israel, where he lived for the rest of his life. He's still alive. Baruch Hashem. But what's amazing is that, once again, it's the same thing. Same exact shit. Same exact shit. Family left Italy around World War II. A lot of shifting around at that time. So the brain fog, does it ever go away? Because I think I'm suffering. I have COVID right now, Jake. I don't know if you were here earlier in the stream. Does it ever go away? Am I like just doomed to have like this problem? All right, guys. I'm getting back. Let's get back to this. So as we said, where were we? We were talking about how this is fascinating. So English literature from the medieval period to the early modern era gradually feminized images of Jews. Thus, a useful exercise for students to learn about anti-Semitism in this pre-World War II. Right, we got down to the children's book. So there's an anti-Semitic children's book called Der Giftpilz. After juxtaposing Stoker's written description of Dracula with the cinematic version of Orlok, a reading of George Orwell's 1945 essay, Anti-Semitism in Britain, provides insight into the history of Jewish immigration to England and the attitudes towards not only Jews, but anti-Semitism and nationalism. Orlok, Dracula, and Jews embodied the other and the xenophobic fears towards immigrants. Again, a trope that's easily followed in a larger and longer historical European context. The connection of the Jewish community with plague and death is embedded throughout the narrative of Nosferatu. The plague follows Orlok from Transylvania in the east to Weisborg in the west, suggesting the dangers of the invasion of the Eastern Jew into Western Europe. Orlok literally brings destruction, decay, and death in his wake. At each port, the ship stops in the rashes of death occur, and the entire crew of the ship dies before it arrives. Although the victims seem to be victims of the Black Death, the intertitles explain that all victims appear to have the same strange wounds on their necks, the origin of which is still a mystery to doctors. Orlok thus spreads a kind of plague specific to him, and by extension his kind. Moreover, he carries this plague in his coffin bed, filled with Transylvanian soil, thus furthering ideas about Jews' animal-like behavior and filth. To clearly seal his fate as a non-Christian beast, the victim's unidentifiable wounds suggest an allusion to a biblical mark of the beast, referring again to the Stoker connection to the film's plot of the status of 19th century Britain as one of the most important ports of trade came at a price. The expansion of sea trade with other parts of the world meant that an increase in diseases that arrived at ports led to a major public debate about the role of the port authority in keeping Britain safe from diseases, certainly, but also from their foreign carriers. Wow. The medium of film, of course, permitted further articulations of images of Jews more effectively than in books. Here lie the beginnings of specifically German tropes about Jews that provide a bridge between 19th century anti-Semitism in Europe, in European contexts, and anti-Semitic imagery of Nazi Germany. Let me take that line. Here lie the beginnings of specifically German tropes about the Jews that provide a bridge between the 19th century anti-Semitism, so that's bridging 1800s, in European contexts, and anti-Semitic imagery that would come in the 20th century via Nazi Germany. It combines them together. And one of the most ominous scenes, Orlok's shadow acts as his agent. His shadow hand stretches out from his body to attack Ellen and squeeze her breast until she faints, thus violating her in a manner that neither she nor her friends and family can protect her against. Orlok thus not only spreads the plague, but attempts to usurp Hutter's place with his wife, which puts her purity into question. The shadow is integral to Nosferatu. An intertitle admonishes, beware that this shadow does not engulf you like a demonic nightmare. This image of a Jewish shadow as an evil, monstrous rapper, shouldn't have said that word. We know what word it is. And killer later found expression in Nazi propaganda, claims of a Jewish shadow government, claims about an unseen hidden force that permitted Jews to violate and take over the world, appeared in multiple Nazi posters and writings. An easily accessible example of this concept is in the 1939 excerpt, The Jewish Problem, by Max Eichler, one of the many sources available online in the German propaganda archive. So how about that? Let's look at some of these comments. I bought that. But I thought that it was Romans. Yes. I mean, yes. Historically, it's the Romans. The Romans are the ones that crucified Jesus, but the Jews are blamed. The Jews manipulated the situation. Because, and I don't know too much about Christianity, but I have spent a lot of time in Jerusalem. I've been to the place where Jesus was buried. I walked the stations of the cross. I all 13 stations or 12 stations or whatever it was. I saw all that stuff. Saw a place where he was resurrected on Easter, all that stuff. And what's interesting is that the thing about Jesus, or the thing that that I think people get hung up on, is that so forget about any sort of religious context of Jesus. I'm talking about him as a historical figure, if he existed in the way that he supposedly existed, because who honestly really knows anything? That he was this dude with super radical ideas who basically told everybody, love one another. He had these teachings, love your neighbor, all that stuff. And all the people revolted because he claimed to be the son of God, right? Something like that. And then, and the Romans, they didn't like that, and they strung him up. They made him drag the cross. The cross was a form of execution back then, right? It was a torture device. And that's Jesus suffering for the sins of all mankind, right? Something like that. But Jews are blamed because, that he was a Jew and that he was amongst other Jews and that the other Jews rejected his teachings. Something like that. I don't know. But that is supposed to mean that Jesus is responsible, that Jews are responsible for Jesus' death. I do know, and I don't want to speak about other religious groups, but I'll just say there are other religious groups that do believe that Jesus was killed by the Jews. But it is an anti-Semitic myth that was super popularized in the medieval times. That's when that really became prevalent. And I honestly don't know enough about the history going back 2,000 years in Jerusalem to really tell you more than that. But for instance, why was Mel Gibson considered to be an anti-Semite and all this, or what, besides what he literally, all the stuff that he said as a drunk guy? including one of the most inappropriate, misogynistic, yet also at the same time incredibly hilarious things. Totally inappropriate. But like just the notion of a drunk Mel Gibson saying this to a police officer like blows my mind. Like, I don't know, just ridiculous. But he made a movie called Passion of the Christ, which is based on a passion play. Passion plays come from medieval Europe, and the Jews are blamed for when the Jews were blamed for the killing of Christ. Why were the Jews blamed for killing of Christ? Because it's like, oh, hey, look, all these Jewish moneylenders, fuck them, for being so prosperous. Toxic Swamp says, I think anti-Semitism is a result of jealousy because Jews ultimately win. They are, but how could you say that Jews aren't the smartest people? I don't know how to qualify that. They've been awarded 24% of all the Nobel Prizes in science research fields. I mean, I don't know, I guess, but I don't know. See, I don't like that either, because that abides by that same logic as like what other people say in terms of like, I don't know. I feel like that's not subjective enough. I do think that I do believe this. I do believe this 100%. I believe that culturally, going all the way back to the teachings of the Torah, Jews believe in education. They believe in working hard, and they believe in, they're motivated, that sort of thing, to be productive. And that has led to them finding success on their own, no matter what the causes may be. In the case of medieval Europe, oh, you can't have land. You can't own land, or you can't farm land. Fine, we'll become the money lenders. And learning how, and don't quote me on this, but I think Jews were a literate population in medieval times. People generally could not read. If you were in the clergy, if you were in the church, you learned how to read the Bible, but the average person, the average Christian, did not know how to read. I believe Jews did know how to read back then. And that impartially because they were money lenders and they needed to know how to keep track of the books and things like that. And so that led to this form of education. And that in turn led to prosperity. And that in turn leads to resentment. That's the best I can do off the top of my head. I'm not a scholar on these things. I do not claim to be an authority. But yeah. Toxic Swamp continues, while Jews currently make up approximately 0.2% of the world's population, they are the funniest. Hence all our favorite comedians. In my opinion, Jewish women are the sexiest. One thing is for certain, there's an incredibly small amount of Jews left in the world. We only make up 0.2% of the world population. There are 14 million Jews in the world. Half of the 14 million Jews live in America. Another 8 million, there's 6 million Jews in America. There are no, that's wrong. 6 million Jews in America, 6 million Jews in Israel, or 7 million Jews in Israel. And then the rest of the Jews are spread throughout the world. And that's it for of everything. We're a very, very small population. I did not know Amy Winehouse. Yes. And yes, all of those women are gorgeous, beautiful women, especially Sarah Silverman has always been the apple of my eye. Gal Gadot, of course. Robbie wants to know. Okay, so this is the truth, and I hope I don't offend any Christians. And I did not do this, by the way. But for anybody who's Christian, I don't want to offend any Christians. I did think for a second. I thought about the idea of like, since I was going to be in Jerusalem over the summer, I was like, oh man, it'd be really fun. Like in Ode to Danzig himself, who we love here on the channel, that I would play Snakes of Christ in Jerusalem. Because I'm like, has anybody ever played the song Snakes of Christ in Jerusalem? Think about it. It's been 30 years. Think about Jerusalem is an international destination. Millions and millions of people pass through Jerusalem. Have any one of them had Danzig 2 Lucifuge in their audio collection? And when they were at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is where Jesus was buried, did they play Snakes of Christ? I don't friggin' know. I don't friggin' know. But yes, I made that joke over the summer because we all love Danzig. Pretty funny. Yes, because the first version of the Bible wasn't written until 30 ACE or AD, depending on what you're thinking. Oh, so you're saying, so I don't know what you mean. 30 years, so 30 years after Christ's death, the first Bible was written. You know, Toxic Swamp doesn't like Mel Gibson. I got to tell you, I know I shouldn't like Mel Gibson for a lot of reasons. Like, as a guy, I think he's got a lot of problems, and I most certainly I most certainly condemn everything that he's ever said about Jews and black people and women, and like he's said a lot of things that I don't like. He's also a raging alcoholic who's struggled with all those sorts of things, which I do not excuse. But I love Mel Gibson movies, dude. I motherfucking love Apocalypto. I love Mad Max. By the way, I think the cat's out of the bag. I could say this now. I'm going to be at the Mahoney Drive-In Theater conducting a Q&A with Vernon Wells, who plays Wes in Mad Max, The Road Warrior. Both nights. The first night is Mad Max 2 and Mad Max 2. Second night is Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and Mad Max Fury Road. And I'm going to be, I don't know if I'm doing both Q&As or if I'm just doing one Q&A, but I'm going to be, I think I'm doing both. I'm going to be conducting a Q&A with Vernon Wells himself, Wes. Fucking love Mad Max. I don't know how we start. Oh, we talked about Mad Max because of Mel Gibson. Because I'm a huge Mad Max fan, and Mel Gibson is Mad Max. So, I don't know. Angus says, in my opinion, the best way to break down barriers is to get a passport and travel. It's the best to visit smack dab with. Angus, I totally fucking agree with you. I totally agree with you. Not only do I agree with you, that's what Henry Rollins does. That's why I love listening to Henry Rollins. He goes to all these places that are like considered to be like real bad places. And he just like, he goes and he meets the people, because people themselves, like, when we think of a place being bad, we think of it's bad because it like maybe it has a bad leader or a bad government doing bad things. But like the people on a people level, everybody is just people, man. Everybody is just people living their life. Everybody has their own forms of hospitality. And you hear time and time again, as Henry Rollins travels the world, about how everybody approaches him and is just so nice to him and blah, blah, blah. And just like the hospitality that he encounters all the time. And while I have not traveled to nearly the amount of countries that Henry Rollins have traveled, but I've been to a bunch of different places where I've experienced all sorts of kinds of hospitalities. And I would say that it's true. I would say that it's a small fraction. It is a small fraction of what Henry Rollins has seen on a macro level. When I was in Egypt about 12 years ago, about 12 years ago. And man, it was a friggin' trip. And the people there were fucking awesome. They were amazing. They were super fucking nice, you know? It didn't help the fact that we came from Israel, which used to have a big beef with Egypt, but that's a whole nother story for another day. I'm not going to get into that. My grandma took all her grandkids to see Passion of the Christ. It was very popular amongst all sorts of Christian groups. I mean, it did a lot of business. Toxic Swamp wants Mel Gibson to be canceled, as well as Mark Wahlberg. Why Mark Wahlberg, out of curiosity? Toxic Swamp shit. Yeah, there were like churches would take buses. Churches would take busloads of kids to go see Passion of the Christ. Apparently it's really bloody. I've never seen it. I really should just watch it just to check it out, see what it's about. Angus says, I've been to 2 countries which have corrupt police, Saudi Arabia and Indonesia, and the people were very nice. Exactly. I'm sure you encountered people and they saw that you were a travel. Because you know what's an interesting thing? You know what's very, very interesting? Like when you encounter other people, you encounter universal hospitality. It exists everywhere in various forms. There's no place that you're going to go, I think, for the most part. I don't know. Who knows what North Korea is like? Oh, those people friggin' suffer. Like you go to, but you go everywhere, and everybody has their own form of like hospitality for travelers, traveler hospitality, that kind of thing. Lizzie says that he beat up an Asian guy when he was young. Guy is still blind in one eye, I think. Oh, I think I heard about that. Mark Wahlberg got that hate crime expunged from his record, so it never happened. You know who else? You know who else did some really, really fucked up shit? That was meant to be sarcasm, by the way. Yeah. I know, I definitely know it was sarcasm. You know it's really fucked up shit? Fucking what's his face? Matt, what's his name? The Ferris Bueller. Matt, not Matt, what's his name? COVID brain. What is the name? What is the name of the guy? Toxic Swamp is on a rant. He's ranting. What is the name of the guy? Matthew Broderick. That's his name. Matthew Broderick ran someone over with his car and paid $180 in a fine. He never went to jail for killing someone in the 80s. Crazy stuff. Rebecca Gayheart, she killed someone too. Crazy what these people can get away with. Passion of the Christ must have been popular in Bronson, M.O. I don't know. I did like South Park's. Loved South Park's take on Passion of the Christ. Passion of the Gibson. That was fucking great. Let's keep going here, shall we? The plague follows. We already saw that. We already did that. The medium of film, of course, permitted further articulations of images of Jews more effectively than in books. Here lie the beginnings of specific German tropes about Jew. Oh, we already read that part. Anti-Semitic, one of the most ominous scenes. Yeah, we already read that part. All right, that's it. I think that's the end of that one. That's the end of that one. We're almost at the end, guys. Nosferatu provides the opportunity to discuss the evolution of anti-Semitic images and the ideas in Europe and Germany prior to World War II Nazi propaganda. These ideas, as demonstrated by an in-depth examination of Nosferatu as an adaptation of Stoker's novel, were not unique to German society or cinema. Nosferatu has remained a staple of courses on modern German and Holocaust, on modern Germany and the Holocaust, with a few changes to traditional approaches to teaching Nosferatu. The film can take discussions of anti-Semitism and xenophobia beyond a few famous scenes that serve as visual aids for a lecture into an investigation of the film as one link in a development of anti-Semitic thought in Europe. Stop it. Are you serious, Robbie? Robbie, you have to be joking me. Is that true? You can't be serious. He ran him over, but he didn't kill him, did he? That's nuts. All right, we're at the end, guys. We're getting to the end. We're getting to the end here. This was such a good episode, everybody. I'm glad you are enjoying it as much as I am. I am enjoying this. I'm having a great time. Great way to pass the COVID, huh? We're only on day 1, too. There's plenty. Oh, there's so much. He 100% killed him? He killed him? Effed him up. Oh, he effed him up good. Okay. So he didn't die. The guy survived. I hope the guy survived. My Lord. I don't know if we need to read this next piece. I'm just going to, once again, I'm going to skim the crap out of this one. This one, boy, we're really learning about Nosferatu and its connections to anti-Semitism. And I think that's really good for education in today's world. So this is from Bergen County, actually. Oh no. We got a brick. Did this brick? Wow. Well, ain't it a shame the way that this is frozen? You know what? We don't have to. Oh, here it is. It's unfrozen, but I don't even know if we have to read over this one because we're really beating it to death now. There are quarantines, funerals, stay-at-home orders, all the things that are so here's what's interesting. This is drawing parallels to what people have been dealing with for the last 2 years and Nosferatu. In Nosferatu, there are quarantines, funerals, stay-at-home orders, all things that are so familiar right now. There's also significantly rumor mongering and scapegoating. Near the climax, an escaped lunatic is chased by an angry mob. In his famed study of German cinema, Caligari to Hitler, critic Siegfried argued that the vampire of Nosferatu was a tyrant figure, a foreshadowing of Hitler. That might be exactly backward. The vampire called Count Orlok in the film was made out of copyright, which is why This is all. We've already heard all this. Okay, so this is interesting, though. Okay, this is a good part. Not that Nosferatu is an anti-Semitic film. Several of the actors were Jewish. Others were left-wingers. Murnau, the director, was gay. But Nosferatu was drawing its themes from our collective unconsciousness, what is still as active in 2020 as it was in 1920. It's worth noting that the Nazis, when they circulated lurid propaganda cartoons about inferior races, often depicted them with rat-like features. Sometimes they were pictured like the vampire in Nosferatu in the midst of rats. Ba-bum. Nosferatu is old. It will be celebrating its 100th birthday in 2 years, but history is said to repeat. At the time of plague, paranoia, and fear-mongering, alas, everything old is new again. All right, blah, 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 blah. All right, here's the last one. We're at the final. This is the final article. We're going to read through this. I picked this last piece specifically. Oh, no, did we freeze? Don't freeze, baby. No. Okay, we're back. Hey. No, my system. Son of a bitch. Hello. Earth to the internet. Are we good? I think we're good. Crazy white boy's in the house. I just saw him just now. All right, let's pull this up. Yeah. Came out of the shadows with the 17th. Like, hello, all. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Welcome, Crazy white boy. I'm in slow motion. As long as my audio is good, we can move on. My system is lagging. I need to buy a new computer, and I cannot afford to do such a thing. So I just have to make do with the equipment that I have, and that's the way it will be for the time being. We're going to make do. We're almost done here, guys. We're almost done. We're on the last one of this dissertation. Okay, the Vault of Horror. Okay, this piece is from July 11th, 2012. Summer of 2012. And it's from the Vault of Horror. And it's by, it doesn't say the author's name. Who's the author on this sucker? I don't see it here. I'm not seeing it here. It's a perplexing, Nosferatu at 90, the Jew as a vampire. It's a perplexing issue. One of the most revered and effective horror films of all time. One of the most revered and effective horror films of all time. Though F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu may be, that was a weird sentence. That's why it was a weird sentence to read. So while it's one of the most effective films of all time, as it turns out, Nosferatu may be quite tainted for what the fuck is wrong with me? Seriously, it's like I literally can't talk. COVID, I cannot talk. It is also tainted for many by the shadow of one's history. This is just a terrible sentence. You try reading. Okay, I want anybody to read this sentence out loud. I'm putting it in the comments. Try reading this sentence out loud. Maybe I just suck at reading, but just try that. Try reading this sentence. This is a really tough sentence to read. Seriously, try that. One of the most revered and effective horror films of all time, though F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu may be, it is also tainted for many by the shadow of one's history, most persistent history of history. Whatever. Fuck it. Whatever. I don't care. I hope the rest of the article is not like this. The notion that Nosferatu contains anti-Semitic overtones is certainly not a new one. Critics and historians have debated that matter for decades. I don't think it's a matter of debate. I think it's a fact. The overtones are most certainly there. I submit that although the basis for the story and the characters does indeed come from Bram Stoker's 1897 English novel, the particular direction and slant its first cinematic adaptation chose to take was motivated at least in part by time and place in which it was made, Weimar Germany between the world wars. But we already have determined that Bram Stoker's novel Dracula is anti-Semitic. So no matter what, there is an anti-Semitic narrative weaved throughout the story. You can't escape it, especially when we know that Nosferatu is tied so closely to Dracula. So this writer doesn't know what they're talking about. Germany after the First World War was a place of great bitterness and national impotence. Soundly defeated and humiliated, the country was reeling after the fall of the Kaiser, before the Third Reich arose to give the nation a sense of vindication and purpose once again. The Reich came to power in part by playing off a rampant ethnic bias that had become more virulent than ever. Contempt for Jews was certainly nothing new in Christian Europe. Okay. Paul says that everything and everyone is anti-Semitic. Huh. Contempt for the Jews was certainly nothing new in Christian Europe. But by the 1920s, it had reached a modern high in Germany, where many blamed Jews for sabotaging the war effort, even of secretly conspiring to use their supposed wealth and power to undermine Germany and hand it over to its enemies. In short, they were scapegoated, and it became more acceptable than ever to resent and mistrust them. This is the leverage that Hitler and his cronies would use to ascend to power, promising to rid the fatherland of the vermin polluting it. 4 years after the Treaty of Versailles, and 11 years prior to Hitler's ascendancy to chancellorship, F.W. Murnau directed Nosferatu, a symphony of horror, the first vampire film, and arguably the pinnacle of German expressionist cinema. Wouldn't you say The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari might be also the pinnacle of German expressionist cinema? I feel like both of them go hand in hand. I really feel like those two and Der Golem, the three of them together, have to go hand in hand. The film is a masterpiece, but is also a product of its time. And it can be no coincidence that this subject matter was chosen in particular, as well as the manner in which it was presented. I'm not a fan of this writer. That writer we wrote, the kosher vampire writer, was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Oh. I thought this guy's name was Paul. Okay. My bad, bro. He just wants a lot of attention. Thanks for the interesting episode and rest up. I will. We're almost done here. It's important to remember that at the time, the bulk of Germany's anti-Semitism was directed at Eastern European Jews who had immigrated to their country in recent decades. There was a broad xenophobia at work, a fear of the other, of foreign menaces coming to weaken and dilute. It was the environment that Murnau chose to adapt a novel in which a monstrous bloodsucker, who also happens to be based on Jewish stereotypes, travels from the wilds of the Eastern Europe and heads west to cause mayhem and destruction. Except in Murnau's version, it would not be England that would be targeted, but Germany. Oh my God, is this, oh no, it's not that long. Okay, I was gonna say, I'm not reading all that right now if it was super long. As many have pointed out, Murnau's version of Dracula, aka the repulsive Count Orlok, possesses many physical features commonly found in the stereotypical characters of Jews. At the time, a long hook nose, long claw fingernails, bushy eyebrows, a large forehead. I mean, you're right, exactly. Stereotypical caricatures of Jews. A large forehead with a bald head and a general feminization of his appearance was also common. And we learned from the previous article that comes from medieval literature, medieval art. His appearance is not only comparable to anti-Semitic imagery, but he is also made to look something like a rat in accordance with the disgusting rodents he brings with him. This in turn ties back into the Jewish stereotype, as Jews were often equated with rats and vermin as well. Orlok brings filth and plague with him, not unlike this is the same thing. The parallels between vampirism and European anti-Semitism go back much further than Nosferatu, and were in fact part of the continental zeitgeist for centuries. Jews, as well as Romas, I'm not going to use that word, another popular scapegoat, and they were, just like Jews, a huge scapegoat of post-World War I Germany, and were often depicted as bloodsuckers. And some have even traced the vampire's aversion to Christian imagery to this parallel. There was also a popular myth that circulated for centuries regarding the alleged Jewish practice of drinking the blood of Christian children. I have an unbelievable amount of patience. Lizzie, you have no idea. You have no idea. Compared to the native German Jew, the Eastern European Jew was seen as more of an alien influence, dissimilar in dress, language, and appearance, like Nosferatu, and notably like other later cinema vampires. They stood out blatantly from the rest of the populace. They were obviously visually other. And the indigenous population responded with paranoia over being overrun, of their nation being transformed or infected as by a disease. They were seen as parasites. Taking all of this into account, it is reasonable to assume that Murnau knew very well that his audience would understand the symbolism and the underlying message implicit in the Dracula story that informed Nosferatu. I do not by any means descry Nosferatu as a piece of pre-Hitlerian anti-Semitic propaganda. I do not by any means what does descry mean? I don't know what that word means. Let's look that up. It means catch sight of. Okay. Spot. So I do not by any means spot Nosferatu as a piece of pre-Hitlerian anti-Semitic propaganda, but Nosferatu is. That's what the writer doesn't get that. However, I do find it obvious that there's an element of that, the drinking of Christian babies, right? Drinking of the blood of Christian babies. I do find it obvious that there is an element of that, that way of thinking, which informs the film throughout. Anti-Semitism has been popular in Germany throughout the 19th century and was magnified to the 10th degree under the influence of the Nazi Party. Bridging the gap between those two eras was the time in which Nosferatu was made. It was a time during which commonly held prejudices were being congealed and codified. This is the first time that the writer said something I really like. That's good. That makes sense. They were commonly held prejudices that were congealed and codified into something far more sinister and institutionalized. Underline that word, institutionalized. And the influence of that time period on a film like Nosferatu is undeniable. It is a work of its time, designed in part to play on the fears of its target audience. It is with these festering fears, which boiled over during the Weimar years, which allowed Hitler and his ilk to get the populace on board with their plans for return to German dominance and to cleansing their fatherland of the alien influence, which had, they insisted, weakened it and brought it low. The Jew, along with the Roma, the homosexual or the gay person, and any other element deemed a threat to the purity of the Aryan race, would be rooted out in a final solution more horrifying than anything Murnau or Stoker or any other purveyor of fiction could have imagined. While far from a work of see, you're wrong. It is absolutely a work of pre-Nazi propaganda as well. This predated the Nazi propaganda. We talked about how the Nazi propaganda used this movie as a basis, which in turn used Stoker's novel as a basis, which in turn pulls from all sorts of European mythology over the last 1,000 years. I can see the influence of these nascent strains of it through, on the picture, both as a Jungian product. I like that. Carl Jung, Jungian product of social subconscious, but it's also right on the surface. It's so blatantly on the surface. And it must be said, through conscious intent, yet those tropes inform much of the early vampire literature and film, and I cannot discount their merit or their power as works of art on that basis. Okay. Toxic Swamp. Oh my God. Am I fucking crazy? Of course. Toxic Swamp is John of Doom. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Of course, that's your other account. I was like, I fucking know. Yeah. Please check your email at the end of the show with Voice of Doom's The Shift Earth AD style. We accept your challenge. No copyright. Is that what you, okay. You don't want to wait for a Misfits show. You want it to be now. Please, John, please confirm what you wish, and I will abide your wish. Do you want me to play it right now for everybody? I could do it both. I'll do it both. We'll do it for a Lodi show and we'll do it now. How about that? We're ending the show. He wants it right now, he says. You got it, buddy. You got it. It's coming. It's coming, dude. All right. So what is this? All right. So guys, show is officially over. I want to thank, we still have 2.5 hours later. We still have 22 people watching. That's pretty good retention. And I want to now take a moment to do a little Misfit stuff. Oh, Rue wants it too. That's great. Oh shit. Hope your recovery is quick. Make sure you take plenty your vitamins. I am. I haven't stayed hydrated. I've just been drinking seltzer. It's not good. Thank you for watching, Goat Boy. Look at this. I will watch your movie Romeo's Distress and get back to you with my thoughts. Thank you, Sid. And okay, John of Doom, it's happening. I'm making it happen for you. This is so here's the challenge. Thank you. Thank you, Retro. I really appreciate it. We're closing with this, you guys. And I want to say a big thank you to everybody who joined as YouTube members and everybody who, John of Doom, everybody who, JD, all you guys who supported with tips and stuff. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for that. Always just want you to know that I'm grateful for your viewership and your contributions. And we're going to do this. John is requesting, hold on, you got to give me a second to load this up. So let me explain real quick what the challenge was. And they want to do it. The challenge was to either record a Sam Hain song like a Misfits Earth AD song, or to record a Misfits Earth AD song like a Sam Hain song. And so, and the thing about Voice of Doom, which is Toxic Swamp, aka John of Doom's band, him and John of Steel and John of Doom, who we'll be having on Pizza Punk sooner than later. They are, oh, okay, I see it right here, John. I'm taking care of it right now, okay? Hold on. How am I going to play it, though? I know how to play it. I got this covered. So the idea was to try and see if you could mimic the style, because there was this clip I did early on where I was talking about the confusion between Earth AD and Sam Hain and the Shift. And the Initium, because some of those songs were meant for Sam Hain, but then they were sped up, like blah, 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 this whole back and forth. But I issued a challenge, and I Misanthrope did this challenge, recorded a bunch of, that's terrible. That's really terrible. Okay. So they did this challenge. I Misanthrope did this challenge, recorded all of Earth AD like Sam Hain and vice versa. Go check out that episode. That dude is incredibly talented, did a great job. Voice of Doom, however, holds the mantle, the title, and you should all go check out Voice of Doom if you get a chance. You can find them on Facebook. Go to Bandcamp. Check out. I don't know if they still have any copies of Night Tide, their single. Go check them out. Limited edition. They make really cool packages full of physical media. They do the best cover of Wolf's Blood I've ever heard. John himself, and I'm really not trying to blow smoke up his ass, because I wouldn't say it if I didn't fucking believe it. Like, John of Doom is the only person that can sing Wolf's Blood besides Glenn Danzig. Literally the only person who can do it. He has somehow figured out how to, using the lyrics from the Left Hand book, has somehow figured out how to do the phrasing of Wolf's Blood just perfectly. So now I'm very curious to hear him do The Shift, which is absolutely one of my favorite fucking Sam Hain songs. Come on, Nick Hall, what kind of question is that, buddy? I mean, I love it all, man. I love them all. I can't pick. You can't make me pick. 12 Hits from Hell. Legacy of Brutality. I don't know. All right, hold on. Let's play this up. I gotta, how am I gonna do this? How am I going to, oh, I know how I'm gonna do this. Hold on. All right. You gotta finagle this real quick. We got this. I'm gonna save this to my drive. Okay, and then the drive came up. You fire up the drive, yada, yada, yada. Go to recent, right? Hopefully this will work. Let's see. When I turn on my speakers, it's late here at my house. I hope I don't. Why isn't it showing up? All right, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. This is a last minute request that we are very happy to honor, but we want to honor it as properly as we possibly can. Oh, it says no. We don't want to replace. Cancel. We don't want it. But where is it? We got to find it. The shift starts. Oh man, I'm really excited for this. Now, my first screenplay I ever wrote, my first feature screenplay, is called The Shift. So there's a lot of stuff mixed in here. Here it is. I found it. Found it. Let's see if it will pull up. Preview. There we go. We don't want it to start yet. Don't start. Don't start me now. I'm having a good time. Okay. I think we got this. Covered. Let's see. All right. I'm going to share this. Let me see here. Let me figure this out. We can see it through your sunglasses. Nice. Yeah, that's the one problem with the sunglasses. It's great for hiding my eyes so I can like read stuff and dart my eyes around, but like you can also see through my lenses, which I don't like. Don't like this. But that's the way I have my setup. Okay, here it is. Sorry. What am I just doing? I'm just like messing around like a jabroni here. Okay, Chrome tab. Search results, Google. Is this gonna, will this play? Let's see. All right, ready? Hopefully this works. Let's try it. Let me know what it sounds like, okay? Yes. great too, the production.
Shift off! The throttle from the stomach up, back from the face of the vertebrae. Raise it back, and straight up. From the top and low. Raise the neck of a carnal thing. Carnal with you, carnal in love. Burn from the power, and jumbles the senses. Too damn cool, and ready for blow. Back up from the stomach up, back from the face of the vertebrae.
I love the song. Makes me want to just like rip things apart.
Carnal with you, carnal in love. Held in the shell. Held in the shell.
Wow.
Whoa! Held in the shell. Held in the shell.
Oh, right into green hell. Hold on, I got to rewind that. That was fantastic. That was, first of all, the recording, the quality of the recording is stupendous. I love the intro, the drum intro. Like, that's what's so interesting. And much like I Misanthrope, you guys too were able to figure out what are the characteristics of the music that lend themselves to Earth AD. Like, what makes Earth AD Earth AD, you know? And could the shift have found its way onto Earth AD? And hearing that right now, you have 150% convinced me that had Glenn Danzig written the shift in 1982 or 1983, and he very well might have, that he could have easily included it. They could have arranged it like all the other material on Earth AD. And we end up getting this really cool stuff. I mean, I wonder if people before us talked about these things. Like, did people talk about this in the 90s or the aughts or whatever? But it's so cool that we now are like at this time where we're just so, we pontificate over this stuff so much that we're like now at this point where we're like, all right, let's like, you know, what can we make this, like making it sound, you know, trying it out. I give an A+ to Voice of Doom. Truly. Let's listen to it one more time. It's only 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Just want to give it one more quick listen. Right there, that feedback track. Right? Death Comes Ripping. What happened? Did I pause? Hold on. Oh, man. Hold on. Let's try it one more time. One more time. One more time. All right, ready? I'm going to try this one more time. Come on. Oh, no. Why is my system being so stupid right now? Here. Come on. Do something. It's not letting me play. The ship stars is down a bit Razorback. Oh no! Here, let me try it. Let me try it one more time. Let me pull this back up. Razorback, back out from the stomach of caught on the ferry, caught on the zone. Here, all right, ready? Come on. Come on, you fucker. You motherfucker. All right, here, we're trying it one more time. Man, I just want to hear it one more time. All right, let's try it. Last time. Come on, you stupid son of a bee. Here we go. Oh my God. There are 18 people watching me just grunt on the internet right now. Hold on. Okay. It's got that robo. That's what robo is like. That bum, 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 bum. Nice guttural approach, not trying to mimic Glenn Danzig. You know what I mean? Like doing your own thing. Very clean. Are you guys playing? You guys feel like you guys are playing? Feels like you're very much on a thing. Precise. Maybe that's the word.
Shift off!
What do I do?
Back from the face of the bird of prey. Raise it back! Castrate up!
Everything's got to be sped up.
From the napkin low. Raise the neck of a condo bed.
Are those all downstrokes that Doc Steele
From the power, it jumbles the sand bed. Ain't cool and ready for blow. Back up from the stomach up. Back from the face of the bird of prey. Raise it back! Castrate up! Call if you and Connell is love.
I like that. I don't know what the drums are doing.
Hell in the
But the
shed.
bass drums are doing something.
Hell in the shed. Hell in the shed.
Dan, what you stumbled on is
Hell in the shed.
covering the ship like it was as if it was on Earth. Know what I'm saying? So they're playing a Sam Hain song as if it was done on stage. Great. It's friggin' great, dude. A friggin' plus. You guys nailed. You oh shit, did I just end the stream? Oh my god. No, keep streaming. Oh my god, that was nuts. I almost ended the stream before I said goodbye. That was really stupendous, man. That was I hereby dub Voice of Doom right alongside Misanthrope, two completers of the Earth AD to Initium challenge. Well done, gentlemen. Well done. If anybody else out there wants to try the Initium to Earth AD challenge, feel free. We'll probably play that again on a Misfits centric. Remind me, John, the next time we're on a Misfits broadcast or whatever, or we're doing a Misfits Streaming Evil Live, that we should play that again for that crowd, for whoever might be there that's not here now. That brings us. Dan just joined us. I'm sorry, Dan. We're peeling out of here. That brings us to the end of the show, everybody. I can't believe we did almost 3 hours while I was sick with COVID. I hope we all learned something today. Yes, Nick, that's great. You should go follow Voice of Doom on Facebook right now. Check out their Bandcamp as well. They got all their music up there. You can listen to all their stuff. Check out, see if there's anything else you like. Check out Night Tide. Freaking, I hope we all learned some stuff here. And again, it's not that like, that's not to say that like, again, Nosferatu, in closing, Nosferatu is a cinematic masterpiece. But we also need to understand and contextualize its place, you know, in not only just cinema history, but within the history of anti-Semitism as well. And Lizzie, thank you again for joining our membership. Awesome. Okay, I am going to play us out with the Patreon video like we do here on the channel. Thank you so much. As always, we say I'm going to try to be back tomorrow. I got a lot of time to kill, so I'm going to try and come back as often as possible. Try to come back tomorrow. I was supposed to do Batman. We're supposed to have a Batman stream on Sunday. It's not fucking going down because I can't. I was going to take my dad to go see Batman, and I can't do it. So I cancel our tickets, and It'll just have to wait. That stream will have to wait. So peace and hair grease, and check out the Patreon. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time, uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk, and I never shut the fuck up. So right now, I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates, that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon, because we need you! 66 cents.